3, 2, 1. Matt.
James. What was that?
That's the show intro.
I was going to say, please include that.
I just felt like doing it like that. I was gonna go Matt, like that, but then decided not to.
But James, you know why we do that, yeah?
Yeah, I know why we do that.
Okay.
Yeah, it does serve a practical.
Yeah, to actually sync the audio.
If you didn't know that was what we do.
We just do it.
Just
Yeah.
thought,
I just
like a
start
little
every
like
conversation like that. You know, just.
Welcome to the Computer Game Show. I'm Sean Bell. With me this week is Matthew Murray.
Good evening.
James Farley.
Hello, Sean.
And David Turner.
all right, you cunt.
All right, that's offensive. Come on. That's. I don't use that word that often, and I don't sound anything like that. So please rein it in. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Computer Game Show. This week we would like to give a massive thank you to our Patreon producers, Steve Garrett, Alan M. Nash, Aaron Patrick, Simon Nelson and Anthony Oakenson. They all went full Nels. If you would like to go full Nels, then please go to patreon.com/TCGS where you can support us on Patreon, not just at the full Nels tier, there are other tiers there as well. And remember, we don't get enough money, we'll fucking stop. We will stop. We will stop.
Can I just
Don't let me say that again.
Can I just point out something that's bothering me all of a sudden?
Go on.
In the show notes, Anthony Oakenson's name is in a 12-point font, whereas all the rest are in 11. So I'm just going to change that now because I feel like it looks like he's more important than the others.
You don't need to change it.
I've changed it. It's
Sean.
done. It's done.
No. Okay. All right. Fine. Next time that you see something like that,
Yep.
send an email to Matt.
Okay.
He's the admin guy. He deals with all that stuff. You just give it to Matt and he does it. I don't want you wasting your time correcting that sort of stuff, okay?
All right.
Your time's better spent elsewhere. Matt, don't let it happen again. Should we get some feedback? Let's go.
Ammon Patrick has feedback on Stadia because that's out now.
Nice.
Hi all.
Is it?
Yeah. Well, come on,
I
19th.
barely heard anything. That's the crazy thing. It's not like
Really?
everyone's going, I've got my Chrome.
Are you joking? I've heard loads of stuff about it.
Really?
I mean, it's mostly been negative stuff, but I've heard stuff.
Where are you getting your information? Are you seeking this out though, James? I know how much of a pervert you are.
There's been a lot of
James just googling bad news about Stadia.
Trousers around the ankles. Go on.
No, there has been like loads of people like just saying like people that have been testing it and then saying that they're getting bad feedback from people for saying it works, which is quite funny. Like people getting angry that it works. I quite like that.
I know. I saw someone on Twitter. I don't remember who it was, but someone on Twitter was like saying, "Why is it that all I'm seeing is people that haven't used Stadia complaining about how bad Stadia is?" And I see the point, but also the examples he gave, I was kind of like, "Yeah, you don't need to play it to know that that's a bit shit." Like one of the examples was, why would I get this when I could buy games cheaper on the hardware that I've already got? And I was like, yeah, no, that's a good point. Go on. Sorry, carry on.
So hi all, loving the show, and I agree mostly about the Stadia jibes, but as a user who is enjoying the limited amount of game time, I thought I would give some feedback as to why. First of all, full disclosure, cost to date, he's a Stadia founder, so that's £119.
Okay.
He bought a Pixel 4, despite being an Apple fanboy, that's £829. Not needed, but you know. Grid Ultimate, $74.99, absolute rip-off. But I haven't played the game.
Ultimate. Whoa. Grid Ultimate, what's that?
Grid, it's the ultimate version of Grid, the game, the racing game.
Yeah.
He's bought that on Stadia for how much?
$74.99.
Whoa.
It says here, absolute rip-off, but I hadn't played the game and wanted something to test other than Destiny.
Couldn't he have played one of the many Tomb Raider games? They're a lot cheaper.
They're only £10.
Yeah.
I guess I'm going to try that Stadia exclusive 40-player race mode. Anyway, the above is not essential, but I thought for me to get the most out of the service, I needed to see the full setup. I tested the following scenarios. Stadia on Chromecast wired, played Destiny in Grid on this setup, and it truly blew my mind. Destiny ran like a dream. I was a tad disappointed to see loading screens, but overall impressed to see how responsive the setup was. Stadia on Chrome MacBook Pro wireless. In my setup with a fancy mesh network, not going to lie, it ran like garbage. Might have to look at a better setup, but certainly not a great out-of-the-gate experience. Stadia on the Pixel 4, obviously this £829 investment. Well, as I can't purchase the £15 claw accessory for love nor money, the clip from a controller to phone. I mean, there are loads of them on Amazon for £8. Anyway.
Additional prices, yeah.
I can only set the phone against my lap and try to play the game at an odd angle. Not ideal, but the setup seems to work better than Chrome. Conclusion, Stadia seems built for people like me. I get less and less time to play games, so the idea that I don't need to wait for a game to download to the console actually makes a lot of sense to me. Also, I travel a lot, so the idea of packing my Google Stadia controller and I have the opportunity to play a game or two while on the road is fantastic.
Nintendo Switch, baby.
I know xCloud seems to be an overall better solution, can't argue with that logic, but that's not around info at this point. So for me, I would prefer to try a solution that gives me some game time. As soon as the phone setup work, in theory, I may have the best solution for my personal needs. The setup isn't for everyone, but remember, it's only in beta at the moment! ! I do think xCloud needs a competitor to make the service work as amazing as we all want it to be, and Google is one of the only companies that can go toe-to-toe with Microsoft. So for me, I like the concept. I can't wait for the future. I just wish the costs to entry weren't so freaking high. I know I'm in a minority, but I think it's the start of something special, and that's Aaron. Patrick.
Look, Aaron, if you're enjoying it, mate, no one's taking the mick out of you. Right? We think the service is weird. I think it's the best way of describing it from this end. But no one's attacking the people that have actually got it and are enjoying it. I will say this, though. When I want to take a risk and sort of just test something out and see what's going on, I just pick a different sandwich on my lunch break and I go, oh, I've not tried that one yet. It might be shit and it might ruin the rest of my day, but it's, should I, shouldn't I? I don't go out spending £1,500 on a Google Stadia setup.
It's his money. He can do what he wants, can't he?
I suppose he can, Matt. Yes, I suppose he can. But doesn't work for the gag. So I'll ignore that. I'll shun that little fact that you've dropped there.
I mean, do I need to talk about the Stadia party, or should I save that for what we're playing?
I think you should say that now, because we've got a bit of Stadia feedback in the news, but not much. So go on.
Oh, hang on.
Look at James directing.
Sorry, James just totally cut out on mine.
Yeah, good. I cut him off because he was trying to tell you what to do on the show. God, no. Let's do it.
Let me do it now. Okay, fine. For anyone who's missed it, so there's a group of guys just up the road from me. They have like a home office, and they, like, every Thursday they meet up in the evening and they play games. They have like all the PCs in the home office are like gaming PCs, so they play Call of Duty and stuff. They sometimes invite me around, and what basically they've got Stadia, and they were all like absolutely buzzing about it. And yeah, so they had a bit of a Stadia gathering last week, and I went along.
Tutting at everything.
Yeah.
Really, like pissing on their bonfire.
There's definitely an element of like they don't play like a huge amount of games. They pretty much just play Call of Duty and stuff, and like the odd racing game and what have you. So like that, yeah, I don't know. Like the fact that to us the catalogue was like relatively not outdated, but you know what I mean. It's all pretty standard stuff. Like to them, that was fine.
Yeah, but hang on. There's no Call of Duty game on there, though.
There's no Call of Duty game on there. That's quite right. So what did I have gone? So I played a bit of Grid. Fine. Destiny 2 was like I could notice the lag on it, but that I've put hundreds of hours into that game. It wasn't. It wasn't bad enough that I couldn't get used to it. Yeah,
you'd be able to adjust, wouldn't you? Yeah. After a few hours of play, like it's the sort of thing you get used to.
Yeah. So I mean, bearing in mind, so this home office, they've got like an 80 meg broadband connection. So it was fine. Like technically, it was actually really impressive. Like I wasn't spotting any like, and playing it on a big TV as well. I wasn't like, oh well, yeah, but you can see like the video artifacts or whatever. You couldn't really see the compression unless you like walked right up to it and had a look. So yeah, like technically really impressed. The controller's lovely as well. Like it's really nice to hold. The buttons are all really nice. The triggers are really light. Like there was like barely any resistance on them at all, but that's literally like the only thing I could complain about.
In terms of the pad, so it looks like it looks a bit more like a Pro controller in terms of the weight overall and like the rubber. Is it more? More Pro Controller or more like Xbox pad?
In terms of the weight of it, it was weighty enough. Yeah. I can't actually. Now that I
Did
think
it
about
feel
it,
a bit subpar to the quality of the the usual console controllers you get?
no, not at all.
Yeah, I've heard it's
Really?
great. Actually,
It was really nice.
There has been that whole thing about how repairable it is, as in
really?
it's not. Yeah, there was that whole thing where they
As
said
in,
you
it's
can't.
not repairable. What do you mean?
No, as in you can't. Like with a PS4 controller or whatever, you can take it apart and you can do things with it. Apparently, you can't do that with this. It's like almost impossible to do anything to like repair it.
Well, that's fine. But how many people are actually doing like taking it apart?
Dave, how many
depends
times
how
have you taken
durable
a
it is, doesn't
PS4
it?
control apart, Dave?
Me, loads of times. Right? How many times have you done that?
Well, exactly. That's my point. You're saying how many people are doing it. I'm saying, well, you've done it. Like,
Yeah, well, no,
repeatedly.
I know,
one in
but I'm
four, based off the current sample.
What I'm saying, James, is that I'm not representative of a lot of people when it comes to that sort of stuff. I always take controllers apart and fuck about with them, but
have you taken
not
it
many
apart,
people actually do
Sean?
that.
What have I done? Yeah, I've replaced battery in my PS4 controller, and I've fucked around with the Joy-Cons and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, the Joy-Cons you've completely
Yeah, mate.
dismantled and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
so you've done that, I've done that, and Dave's done that. So if we've
I've
done
also
it,
done that as well.
so yeah, we've all done it.
Hold on, we are four very we're nerds, man.
nerds,
We're
yeah.
like proper. We're deep in the hole. You can't do that. You can't say that. Oh, who else here has heard of Peter Molyneux? Well, we all four of us have. So that means 100% of the fucking world have done it. I don't know where I pulled that name from, but you know what I mean. It's like it's one of the most famous people on the planet. And no, what I'm saying is that it's still. Even the pulling the pad apart thing, if you do it within a year, it voids your warranty anyway. So I don't know why I defended them. It just seems a bit weird to have a go at them for that. If you're going to have a go at them, there's plenty of other stuff, is what I'm saying, James. Pick your battles.
But yeah, so overall, the tech was fine. It was a positive experience overall, but it was just like, again, but for me, the library isn't interesting. The cost of the games is pretty steep. It was just,
Can I ask one thing? Have you guys been reading the reviews and stuff about Stadia?
Nah. I mean,
Like the
I've
tech
seen
breakdowns and stuff.
Yeah, I've skimmed and I got a general gist. Yeah, the tech works, but there's not much of a service right now.
Because I'm not 100% sure this is correct. I might have misread this or whatever. But is it true that if you pay for the premium service, you're one of the benefits of paying for the premium service is 4K gaming, right? But it doesn't actually at any point do 4K gaming.
I think you
not
can
right
do
now, no.
so you can do 1440p, but only at 30 frames a second or something. Is that right?
And it can upscale to 4K, but it's rendering below that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
See, this is what I was surprised about, because I thought one of the major selling points of this was like the ultimate high-end PC. So you wouldn't have to buy a high-end PC, ever. You could just use this, and it's not
And
doing
haven't
that.
people been saying with Red Dead 2, it's clearly not running at full whack. It's like
There's a PC in medium settings, isn't it?
yeah. So that's for that to be straight out the gate
madness.
is not amazing, is it? Considering
especially when you're charging for a premium version of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the sticking point for me. It's like, hey, if you want the really high end stuff, then you'll have to pay monthly.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I guess. And then it's like, we're not fully. It's not top. You know what I mean? It's probably better on your Xbox. But
I mean, I've seen just really mixed reviews of it. Like some people, like Matt said, it's like some people say, it works. Then other people are posting GIFs and stuff of things clearly not working and stuff. It's just, it does seem to be really varied depending on people's setups, I guess, which is what everyone kind of expected.
Internet connection is such a massive thing, isn't it?
But that's the thing though, because Google, they insisted that they'd fixed all that. That wasn't going to be a problem, and that they had better tech, and it was all going to be brilliant. But it turns out it's not really much better than PlayStation Now or whatever, really. For this stuff, which is a bit disappointing, I think.
So a brief aside, I also got accepted into the beta for the xCloud game streaming app.
Have you tried it yet?
Yeah. Played a bit. Well, basically just played a bit of Forza Horizon 4. It's a bit of a pain because you have to have a controller connected. It says you have to have an Xbox One controller, but actually I just did it with a DualShock 4 connected via Bluetooth, and it was fine.
Nice.
And yeah, I mean, to be honest, the only reason I haven't put a lot of time into it is just because it's on my phone and there's no games on there that I'm like, oh great, I can play that on a tiny screen instead of on the telly. But like considering that it doesn't cost anything because it is actually a beta rather than pretending they're releasing it when actually half the features aren't there. And the library's just insane. It's just got shitloads of Game Pass stuff on there already.
Oh really?
Yeah. So it's already a better library than Stadia's, and it's not even officially out yet.
See, also, like what you say about that, like the kind of games you want to play, I really feel that like certain games are definitely more suited to like remote play than others.
Yeah.
I've been playing Shenmue 3, I've played quite a lot of it on remote play, and it's been absolutely fine because it's not, it's that sort of style of game. Whereas, maybe Twitch like action stuff is not going to work that well.
What's your setup for that now, James? You playing it on your MacBook?
Yeah, I was playing it on my MacBook, but I've also played it on my iPad as well because you can connect a DualShock to your iPad.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So all that, and it works absolutely fine. It's you get occasional glitches and stuff, but it's generally absolutely fine.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm just glancing at the list on the xCloud beta. So like Devil May Cry 5, probably not. But then Mutant Year Zero is on there, and that's a strategy game. That would be absolutely fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's loads of stuff that'd be worth trying on it.
I mean, it's in the same way that certain games have always been more sort of suited to handheld, and it's just you're going to get the same thing. I think with the remote play stuff. It's you can do that on this, but you probably wouldn't want to.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
In terms of your Stadia stuff, did any of them, or did you get a chance to play Guilt? Because that's the only game I'm like, well, what's that about?
No,
I like Tequila Works, but
they bought like half the fucking games, but not that.
Oh,
it was all the stuff that they got. Well, this is the thing because they've got like Metro Exodus, and I had a quick go on that again. Very impressive. Like it worked. Looks great, but I'm just sitting there thinking like this is on Game Pass. You've all got gaming PCs. You could have paid
and
a quid.
Looks gorgeous on Xbox One X.
Yeah. Great.
I haven't
great
seen any
tech,
reviews. I haven't seen any reviews for Guilt, but I want to hear more. I mean, that's just sort of gone with all like the Stadia stuff, I guess. But I want because Tequila Works is a great studio. I want to hear more about that game, but haven't seeked out a review yet. I'm not sure if anyone's even reviewed it.
Cool. Right. So let's get back to the feedback then.
So, sorry, is next Thursday going back for more Stadia, or is that it?
I think it was just one and done, to be honest.
Maybe the same for them as well.
Yeah.
Rogie, I wanted to comment on Mr. Turner's well-spoken rant on last week's pod regarding how gaming is viewed by some non-gamers. Just wanted to add my own spin and pet peeve on this, which is gamers, yes, all of them, being accused of being antisocial. Having been listening to the pod for nearly 2 years now, I have to say the TCGS group is one of the most social and welcoming groups I've ever been a part of.
It's saddest moments. Don't you worry about that. It's saddest moments.
Gaming, like any other pastime, has a huge mix of personalities within it. Just because I game, don't think I spend all my time on my own in a darkened room. Gaming can be brilliantly social. This weekend, I upgraded my Xbox Game Pass to Ultimate for my son's Christmas present. Yes, I'm sticking to that. It's for him, not me. Saturday evening, we decided to see what this Rocket League thing is about, and what a brilliant evening we had. So many laughs, groans, high fives, and general hilarity. My son is 15, and as you can appreciate, getting a teenager to be sociable can be a bit tricky. Gaming together gives us a real bond that means we can connect. Rocket League will become part of our lives, definitely, even though I'm shit at it and is already pretty good, which is annoying. So well rounded, Mr. Turner. We are a little bit more complex than the stereotypes, and I'm proud to be a gamer. Keep up the great work.
Yeah, I mean, the social side of it. It's I've never really understood that either. But you look at most of my close friends now. I've met them all through gaming.
Yeah.
It sort of just sums it up. You know what I mean?
It's like any hobby. You if you get into something, you will meet other people who are into the same thing, and it like any hobby can become sociable.
And sure, we smell, but that's just part and parcel of the group feeling you get from playing video games.
I mean, the smell thing is sort of real, right? Like when you go to expos and stuff.
It comes out the pads. They lace the pads with steroids that increase the body odour.
I bet Comic-Con doesn't smell much better.
Oh no, absolutely.
No, worse.
Yeah. So it's not a gamer thing.
I don't know what we're basing that on, but it seems
Workshop, brother. There's tears. There's
a lot of tears. SMW, not a spaceship on Twitter. The problem with Dave watching Star Wars is that now when a Star Wars game comes out, there's no one to call out the nerding.
Yeah.
I know, and I almost said that at the end of the long section we did last week. I've been on the other side of it, and it is infuriating because half of the stuff you're talking about you can't understand because you don't care. Like, even if it's people are saying this is the best game ever made, but it's a Star Wars game, first of all, you're instantly going to go, well, you're saying that because it's Star Wars and you're a Star Wars fan. Secondly, you'll be going, I've got zero interest in anything Star Wars, so I ain't going to play it. And yeah, you just completely tune out. So I've been on the other side of it. I totally understand, and I'm sorry, but I'm here now, and it is getting bad.
I think as well,
yeah.
If there's like one of us who isn't into something we're talking about, it like as a host, it gives you that awareness of like, oh, I need to like say all this in English. Do you know what I mean? Like, I need to make sure it's not too like there's not too much jargon and stuff. But yeah, so now that's gone.
We were banging on about Order 66 and shit last week.
Yes, mate.
The other thing that's not helped me recently as well is that Harry is fully blown, like just fallen into the Star Wars thing like crazy. He said, what did he say to me the other day? That was it. What's the planet that Rey's from?
Jakku.
Jakku. He said that to me the other day. He was like, something about Jakku, and I was like, where do you even know that from? Oh, it's in my Star Wars book. Because he's just been reading Star Wars stuff now. So he knows, like, I'm terrible with planet names. Like, this game is the first time I've actually paid attention to what the planets are called. And it sort of drummed a few things home. But Harry's, just because he reads his like Star Wars books all the time, he just knows fuckloads of stuff and just drops these little facts here and there. It's mental. But that hasn't helped. But because he's been getting into it, I've also been getting into it, and we've been playing the Star Wars games together. So I have really just fallen down a rabbit hole with it. It's that
must be amazing though, with Harry getting into it as well. It must be a great feeling.
I mean, there's so much of that. I mean, I'm really lucky actually because he's a massive Millwall fan, so we're always talking about the players and the results and all that. So we got that. He's well into his gaming, so we're all over that. And now the Star Wars thing, we're both sort of into it, and we're having lightsaber battles in the front room every morning and shit. It's just great.
The other thing that's brilliant about it is that you've come to this, I think, like a really good time as well, where there's like lots of good. There's a lot of stuff coming out all the time, and there's like general interest, and also a lot of it's been pretty good quality as well, which is nice. And it's like,
it has. I know. But I don't know if I would have survived the 90s if I ever watched those films.
There was a lot of good PC games during that time, but not much else. It was
cool.
Rafi plays. No one seemed interested in my Stadia Buddy Pass I offered in my email. Let me know if any of you want it when it eventually arrives. Yeah, I can only apologise, Rafi. I was sort of waiting for James to jump in and say yes.
Well, this is it. I think this is what it is, right? Because I saw that and I thought, I'd really like to try that. But in terms of the hierarchy of the show of who should get it, and I base that on who would have a more interesting discussion about it on the podcast, I'm low down on that list. Like I am probably bottom of that list, to be quite honest with you. So I just thought, okay, well, let one of the boys take it, and they could try out Stadia and get their pick. If Matt got it, brilliant. Matt gets to talk about the thing that he's been building
but then I was like, well, it said James, so I was waiting for James to say yes or no.
Well, James is another one, because James is so sceptical about it. It'd be really interesting to get his point of view. And Sean's used to PC gaming, so it'd be interesting to hear his view. Like, I'm way down on that list. But what happened? Did no one just...
I did. I emailed him, and he didn't reply.
No. You emailed him like a week later after, like, we're like, James, you can never respond.
It was a couple of days later. I mean, I'd forgotten all about it, like, completely.
He was the guy that tweeted in twice as well, right?
Yeah. He tweeted in last week and then emailed again.
Awful.
Yeah, it's disgusting, James. I can only apologise on behalf of James. But James has now got into contact and he's going to get a buddy pass when it arrives. So that'll be exciting to hear James's views.
He didn't reply, Matt.
What?
He hasn't replied.
No, he tweeted us saying awesome, because I tweeted him again just to apologise on your behalf.
Did he? Oh, okay. Well, okay.
You absolute monster.
Well done.
You monster.
I didn't see that.
Adva Capone. Also, we had like a discussion last week about Game in a Decade, and maybe we could do something about that. Who knows? But anyway, Adva Capone says, "Forget Game in a Decade. I have an amazing idea: a 24-hour live podcast for charity where you discuss best game of all time, made available afterwards to higher tier patron subscribers. A 24-hour podcast. I mean, obviously we've seen 24-hour streams, but a 24-hour podcast. Can you imagine?"
Absolutely not. I think I just replied to him, no. Like, that just sounds horrendous. You'd need to bring the big bucks if you want us to do that. Like, I'm being serious. I'm talking
What's wrong with that?
Talking a few K
I
for
couldn't
that
do
one.
that. A 24-hour podcast, like, on one, like, just a couple of games, what you
Subject,
think's
yeah.
the best. It'll be awful.
Oh, that.
Yeah.
Well,
Fuck
I'm
that.
sure we can deviate into other little topics.
We're not doing it, Matt.
Cammy Toman, sexy games. Hi, gents. Regarding your discussion about if games or video games are sexy, I thought I'd write in with the following points. One aspect of this discussion you didn't mention was the use of adventure games and visual novels to explore sexuality. Games like Lady Killer in a Bind, which focuses on several kink and BDSM scenarios, will be very sexy for many people. Unfortunately, due to years of our expectations being nuked through the floor, mainstream gaming discussions on sexuality tend to focus on how absurdly embarrassing the whole thing can be. However, indie developers are using games as a tool to explore and express non-vanilla sexuality in ways that are really important to those who enjoy it. This isn't a call out, just one vanilla hetero boy pointing out that games don't tend to make great efforts to be sexy in a positive way towards us because it's not as if it's an untapped market. Cheers, lads. That's on Cammy Time Man.
Who was making
That's
weird
fair point.
noises when Matt was reading that out?
That was James Farley.
Really? What was I doing?
You're just like making, yeah, all that sort of stuff. Here you go.
I don't think
It
so.
was me, Sean. Who's the most immature amongst us? Come on.
Yeah, he's got a point. That's something that, obviously we've sort of glossed over. But yeah, I mean, obviously it goes from like, sort of interesting, like I said, sort of BDSM stuff, I guess, but then all the way into like furry stuff, which is still.
But that's it, though, isn't
furries
it?
are one of my
It's such a
remaining
wide
prejudices. I
range.
think.
I think in general we were just talking about mainstream gaming, like sort of your AAA games and stuff like that. And I still think there's some sexy stuff out there. I still think there is.
I'm not commenting. No.
You've already heard what you think, James.
I mean, listen to us, Cammy. You sent us quite a well put together email there about sexuality in video games, and listen to us. I was making silly noises throughout the whole thing. We're now giggling. It's perfect. We're not the people to approach this subject at all, are we? Boobies. Go on, Matt. Next one.
Oliver Birch, Gotti stuff. Gents, it's time to get serious. We're running out of time before a draft happens for Gotti this year. I think, what are we, like 2 episodes away from the draft or something
I think
crazy?
we are. When's it? Right, let me work it out. Go on, you carry on reading.
Okay, if memory serves you right, only Matt has played Outer Wilds. I know you're all busy, and I know you have some chunky games to get through, but failing to play this before draft is a major injustice. I need you to play it, and I need a full spoiler cast on the game. I know this is wild talk, but it's in my top 5 games of the century.
I think we've all played it.
Also, and for anyone else who hasn't played it, the more you know about it, the less impressive it is. So just jump in.
So I've played a
doesn't sound
fair bit of it, but I've still not finished it. But I am going to finish it before.
Please
the game
finish it,
of the
Sean.
show. Yeah, don't worry.
Please give it a go.
I played it, bounced off it. Didn't think it was that good.
Shame.
I've also played it. As well.
What did you think?
I'll save my opinions for the Game of the Year show.
Good point. Well, it sounds like it's got 2 votes.
Let's check his achievements.
Yeah.
Just to let you know, there's this show, next show, and then the draft.
Oh Jesus!
Shit.
I'm not even kidding.
There's a lot of
dreading
games to
this
get
list.
through before then.
So we're recording on the 25th. Show comes out 27th. Next week we record on the 2nd. Comes out on the 4th. Then, because we're recording the Gotti show on the 15th, right? Because of
Yeah,
James.
shit. Yeah.
So that means that the show we're recording on the 9th is the fucking draft, man. Ouch.
There's a lot of games to get through still.
Also,
That's impossible.
I haven't noticed much sort of buddying up this year. Like last year, it was insane. It was insane. There was like someone would say something, and then someone would blatantly go, "Yeah, no, I agree, actually." And I'm just thinking, you are just trying to get a few votes in the Gotti show. I've not really noticed that this time, so this might be, this could go anywhere.
Yeah.
It's interesting because the game, my current shortlist, I think I already know who my allies are for the games I'm going to pick.
No one. Usually. So I'm going to nominate Fommel Flomp. It's a game on the Nokia 13.
I would love it if there's another one of those games like last year where Sean pulls out of the bag and we all play it and we love
Turns
it.
out it's
I
actually
wouldn't.
good.
I got a baby. I don't want that. Like last year, it was like, plenty of time.
I'm struggling to even just put together a list of 4, to be honest.
You're
finding
fucking
it really difficult.
mental.
No,
you're
mental.
mental.
There's been good games, but there just hasn't been anything that has really.
So here's what you need to
really
do.
blown me away.
Let me give you a tip, right? Because this is what I've done. Any game that you think, yeah, that was alright, or above, write down, and then rank them from best to worst.
Yeah.
And then you'll find yourself with about 8 games, and you'll have a top 4, and then you'll have substitutes to slip in when you need it.
Yeah.
And of course, we got our. No, we haven't mentioned this on the main show yet, have we?
We haven't.
No, we
haven't.
haven't. Yeah, go for it.
No, should we do the rule change now or leave it to closer to the time?
Leave it close to the time.
Okay. Anyway,
Also,
there's a
hang on.
substantial rule change, everyone. Strap in.
When was Man of Medan out? was that this year?
Is that going to be in the list, yeah?
We're going to end on Capone Adam again. Whenever I write into you guys in the past, whenever I have wrote into you guys in the past, I've often wondered if I'm stepping over James's toes by mentioning something that he was planning to discuss in the news and that my letter will disrupt where a topical discussion is discussed on the show. Last week, my fears came true. I brought up Stadia, as did other people, and this really seemed to cause James great distress. James clearly wanted to talk about in the news section where he would be allowed to go over his points in a specific orderly fashion. I'm now terrified to write into the show and offer about topical gaming industry news. Maybe you can start the show with some news, or at least placing it before correspondence. However, then you run the risk of reading out emails about points that you've exhausted yourselves into the news section. I just can't see a solution here other than putting listener correspondence in a separate Patreon special podcast. No one wants that, Capone. It's staying as it is.
Sorry, go on. Is he done?
Is he done?
Yeah, is his email done?
Yes.
Right, the feedback's got to be right at the start, because I listen to podcasts that do feedback from last week's episode at the end of the current episode, and I just think that's the most insane idea I've ever heard.
Yeah.
It's so weird. You're like, we've just got through this one, and now you want us to go back and think about what happened last time. This is mental. So that's at the start. Then news has to be next, I think. It's the only thing that I struggle with is that usually people like us to get straight into the games we've been playing and our opinions and stuff. But and I understand that, but I don't know. I think the format works as it is at the moment. All right, Capone, don't try and fuck with that boy.
Yeah, that's it for feedback. It's at Computer Game Pod if you want to tweet us some feedback in the week, or you can email podcast@thecomputergameshow.com.
Just quickly before we move on, I'm not going to give anything away, but I'm looking at James's achievements, and it makes for some interesting reading.
Okay. Which achievements? Are you talking about Xbox or PS4?
Yeah, his Xbox achievements.
I never play on my Xbox, so you want to go for the PS4.
That's what Outer Wilds is on, isn't it, James?
It is, yeah.
No, it's on both now.
What's that? What's happened?
Well, he's saying that I haven't played it very much, which is true.
That's not what I was going to say at all, but...
Has he finished it? What are you doing, Sean? Come on.
What? We had the discussion about what James thought of Outer Wilds, and I said, right, I'm going to check his achievements, and I have. And just saying, it makes for some interesting reading.
Call him on it then.
He hasn't got any achievements on it. He has got.
I told you, I've barely played it.
He's got loads of achievements on Quantum Break. 695 points.
Sean. What are you watching?
Hold on.
Yeah,
he
but
hasn't
Quantum
got a single
Break is
achievement.
shit, James. And Outer
He hasn't got
Wilds
a
is
single
incredible.
achievement.
Oh, sorry?
That means what? Doesn't that mean that he's not left the home planet?
No, I've left the home planet. I can show you the video of it if you want.
Don't you get an achievement to leave the home planet?
No,
I can't remember.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. This is already getting exciting. You know when I said that I couldn't see the way the Gotti was going this year? I think I can now. James Gorm.
Okay, so we got news, yeah? Was that where we're going now? Presumably, yeah?
Let's think. What has the format been since we started the show?
Well, no, because
this is literally after I just said we will never change the format. Like in the
we
response
were
to that
doing
last piece of
Game of the Year
feedback.
gotchas now. You know, like we've moved on to that or something. I don't know.
I mean, I love to have all Game of the Year gotchas. Gotti gotchas.
Matt, your Game of the Year gotcha, please, for this week.
Oh, yeah. Sean doesn't even like Disco Elysium. Next.
I only played it for 10 minutes. Everyone said it was good, so I was just...
Actually, Sean doesn't have a PC. That's a bigger thing.
Go on.
Okay, so here's the news. The first bit we got is, I mean, this was a story that happened just before we recorded last week, and I didn't put it in, so I'm putting it in now. And it's that Valve are working on
Don't
Half-Life.
need to know that.
Yeah, well, they're working on Half-Life Alyx for VR platforms. So
Yeah, this was so after we finished recording last week, it was about 10 minutes after we stopped recording. Sean put the news in that group chat, and I just replied, fuck. But we've seen it now, haven't we? Seen the trailer.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you want to know some details about it, about the game in general, and then we can...
Yeah,
talk
go
about
on,
the trailer?
let's do the details, and then I want Matt's opinion.
Okay, so it's set between Half-Life and Half-Life 2, and you play as Alex Vance, as she and her father are like mounting resistance against the Combine invasion. It's coming in March 2020, and it's compatible apparently with all PC-based VR headsets.
Yeah.
And it costs $60, but if you've got a Valve Index, which costs a minimum of £919 in the UK, you get it for free, which is obviously nice. And Valve have said that the game's supposed to be based on like exploration, puzzles, combat, and story. So basically, Half-Life then is the thing.
That's not
it.
if you're focusing on 4 things, that's not a focus, is it? That's
No, it's a wide focus. It's but yeah. Do you want to hear Gabe Newell's statement about it?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah.
Okay, so he said, everyone at Valve is excited to be returning to the world of Half-Life. VR has energised us. We've invested a lot of ourselves in the technology, but we've also game developers at heart, and to be devoting ourselves to a VR game this ambitious is just as exciting. For that to come in the form of Half-Life feels like the culmination of a lot of things we care about, truly. Truly great games, cutting-edge technology and open platforms. We can't wait for people to experience this. So yeah, that's the thing.
Matt, so you are the person that's been calling out for Half-Life for as long as I've known you.
Yeah.
What did you think?
I think it looks fantastic. I obviously can't wait. It looks like a sort of standard first-person shooter from the trailer we've seen, but I think it's going to be the combination of VR and sort of the control systems within that is going to elevate it. I mean, they've always said previously that they weren't going to do a Half-Life until they had something that's going to be truly special. And I don't think... I mean, obviously Valve haven't really done much in the way of games for a long time now, really. So I don't see them just returning to do a Half-Life game if they didn't feel like they had something really special. Obviously with Valve Index and also even things like Oculus Quest, they're getting updates, particularly in Oculus Quest for like finger movement and like finger tracking. And I think there's going to be a lot of that. Obviously, a big focus of the trailer was Alex's gloves, and I think they're like called gravity gloves. So a lot of the cool things you do with a gravity gun in Half-Life 2, you could do with that. And I imagine that with a combination of controls in VR is going to feel really special. It's a full Half-Life game. It's not just like an FPS with some VR bits tacked on or stuff. It looks fantastic, and I can't believe we're actually discussing the fact there's a new Half-Life game. I mean, like recently we've had...
But hang on, though. Aren't none of us going to be able to play this?
No, because you can play it on Quest.
Oh, but you have to plug it into a PC, right?
You can play on Quest. So earlier this year, obviously Oculus Quest is out now, but it also announced at like one of Facebook's conferences in September, October, this Oculus Link, which is a cable, because obviously Oculus Quest is fully wireless, doesn't require a PC, but if you get this Oculus Link cable, that then turns that Quest into a full Oculus Rift headset and can play all standard Oculus games. So we'll buy the cable and then it'll work. I mean, I guess, and also they announced at the same conference that Quest is going to get a massive update for like hand tracking, finger tracking, this, that, and the other.
Cool.
But it may well be the case. I mean, my suspicion is that Valve Index obviously is Valve's latest premium VR headset that has got incredible controllers, which I think are much more geared towards things like hand tracking, and finger tracking. So maybe that might be like the best way to experience it. But regardless, even headsets like Oculus Quest will be our player's game, and I can't believe we're going to get a new Half-Life. Unbelievable.
It just feels like we're not going to get a new Half-Life, though.
But they've said it's a full Half-Life game.
Yeah, but
it's
that
Half-Life
doesn't mean
3,
that
though,
it's a full
No,
Half-Life
they can never have done
game,
Half-Life 3. I mean, this is like the this is.
You say that now, but you've been saying for years that you wanted it.
Obviously, I want it, but this is probably like a way to get into it. Like they said actually that that they want to do other Half-Life games, so we'll see what this is about. I mean,
we already had the Bridge Constructor one.
Yeah, we've had that. Yeah,
Matt. If they wanted to do other Half-Life games, there's nothing stopping them from doing other Half-Life games. It's not like Valve are strapped for cash. Like, if they wanted to, they could easily do that.
And they said they want to. So, great.
I don't know. For me, it's a little bit disappointing simply because I've got no interest in playing this game in
Haven't
VR.
you? None at all.
No, absolutely no, Matt. Standing there while head crabs jump at my. I've got. It's exactly what I hate about VR. You know, here's my view on it. I'm not ragging on it because it's not my sort of thing. So it's not. You know,
But it's a first-person
my opinion's
shooter.
kind of invalid.
I
right?
thought you'd be, you know, with a focus on exploration, puzzles, combat, and story. I thought you'd be into
But
that.
every time I've played a first-person shooter in VR, it's been warp over there, shoot in this sort of like gun gallery. Someone throws something at you, hold your arms out and twist a thing, and then that activates this key or whatever. And it's like, this isn't actually. It's impressive in some regards, but it isn't actually fun. When I think about when I'm using VR and I am genuinely thinking this is fantastic, it's almost always social. So you're in a space with other people who are also in VR. Or it's something like Astrobot. And then when I look at Astrobot and the innovations that brought to VR, I was like, yes, a lot of it was gimmicky little VR things, but it worked really well and it was a great experience. Here, I was looking throughout that whole trailer. I was like, okay, with the shooting, it felt really good in Super Hot. Every puzzle that it showed looked very similar to what I played in Vader Immortal, and there was nothing there that made me go, "Fuck, this is why this is Half-Life." You know what I mean?
See,
this is why this is coming to VR.
When I saw this, you see, I kind of feel a little bit similar to you because I saw this and felt sad that it's not like a proper Half-Life game, in the sense that it's not like a proper like sort of first-person shooter, you know, in the Half-Life vein like from before.
But explain that, because it looks like a Half-Life game,
but it's in VR, which means
so it's not how it looks, it's how it controls. Is that the issue?
Basically, yeah, because it's not. You see, the thing is, right, is I played like Blood and Truth, for example, like on PSVR, which obviously is not anywhere going to be near the same kind of experience. But as David said, like one of the things which is always most annoying about stuff in VR is like the movement and like teleporting and stuff. And I know that this is going to have like room scale stuff to a degree, but you're still not going to be able to like, you know, to do movement in the same way as you would, you know, like as you can like using a controller or whatever.
But you can, even like Farpoint did like full like standard twin stick like FPS controls.
Yeah, but you can't like run forward, can you, and stuff like that? Well, you could, but not very far.
You can. Like a Farpoint, you know, I obviously like that game, but you know, you can play it as a full FPS with standard, you know, strafing and all the usual control systems, and that was Farpoint.
You can do that, and you can do that in other VR games that I've played as well. But it makes you feel sick. It's not fun.
Well, it doesn't always make you feel sick. It didn't make me feel sick. But the fact is, I think that they will have full FPS control systems, but you'll have the ability to do stuff in VR as well. I mean, like, even when I played Farpoint, I was like, this is an amazing experience, but imagine if someone, you know, with all due respect, like, amazing, like, studio like Bungie, or in this case, Valve, did this, but with, you know, a Halo or Half-Life or another game like that, or, you know, Gears maybe.
But again, I know that I'm going to be, you know, either pushing forward on the stick and it's going to make me feel a little bit weird, or, you know, the jumping at your face is just nothing that I want to do. You know what I mean? Like, it's always
like,
an off-putting
head crabs
thing.
jump to your face on Half-Life 2.
Yeah, but there's one thing where it's happening on a 2D TV and it happens and you go a bit, ugh. And there's another thing when it's 3D jumping at your face.
Yeah,
I mean, I've played VR games where things are right in your fucking face.
I literally screamed out
loud
when the first, like, those spider things jumped to me in Farpoint, and but I mean, I'm pumped for this. And yeah, there will be full FPS controls. I'm very excited to see. I mean, my belief for this is, I just don't believe they would put out like, oh, here's based on a first-person shooter with the Half-Life name. I feel like
what's that based on?
Because
that belief, what's that based on?
They have said in the past that they would only really do Half-Life stuff if they felt they could move things forward. Obviously,
well, like Bridge Constructor
had like physics in the past with like Half-Life 2. What was that, James?
I said like Bridge Constructor.
Well, you'd like that, yeah. But yeah, I just feel like that. You know, obviously the Half-Life name's got such a massive history. They know there's like pressure behind like releasing anything new Half-Life. I just don't feel like they would say, "Oh, here's the standard FPS
So that's your belief.
Shooter.
That's your belief. But was anything in that trailer that made you think, "Yeah, that's what they're doing"? It's clear that they've doing something massively different here, and that's why they're bringing Half-Life back.
No, because it looked like a standard FPS, but I feel like it's all about the controls, and I feel like that's the stuff you can't really communicate in a trailer about presence, about how it makes you feel, about how you connect with the environment in VR, how if it feels realistic or this and the other, and obviously that combined with with the story, atmosphere. I mean, in terms of graphics, this looks really graphically impressive compared to other, say, VR FPSs, first-person shooters I played. It doesn't.
You've played PSVR and Quest stuff.
Yeah,
that hasn't been pre-rendered as a 2D trailer, right?
Yeah,
so it's always going to look better.
Yeah. So, but I just think like I said, I liked Farpoint. That was extremely basic, extremely linear game, and I kept thinking if something amazing, if Amazing Studio has not a chance to work with VR, it could be something else. And I feel like Valve, Half-Life, the things they mentioned, exploration, puzzles, combat, and story. Yeah, I'm excited. I feel like they would only put us out if they feel like they could do something really special. And I guess I'll give them the benefit of the doubt because it's Valve and it's Half-Life, but. Yeah, I can't wait to see what it's like. I'll be very, very disappointed if it is just a standard shooter in VR, but also Farpoint's basic and that was enjoyable, so at the very least it'll be enjoyable. Hopefully it's much, much more than that.
I hope it comes out in this fucking masterpiece, because it don't affect me. I don't think that they would have brought out a normal first-person shooter in place of this, so it's not. I don't see it as that sort of thing. I think initially I was disappointed that I know that I was never going to play it because I've got no interest in playing a first-person shooter like this in VR. And secondly, it's like people are going like, Half-Life's back, yeah, look at it. And I'm kind of like, that's not representative of what I loved Half-Life for. Like Half-Life felt like a big revolutionary step, adding something new to a genre that I love. And this seems to be moving away from that.
Yeah, but
that's all based on a fucking trailer.
I was going to say, if they truly innovate in VR, then it will push things forward. But obviously, there's a niche here because VR isn't
That's what I'm saying. They should show that innovation up front.
Yeah,
they should go. This is why we're bringing Half-Life back, and based on what we've seen, there's, all I saw was people going, "Oh, the bit where she looks for the ammo on the shelf." I was kind of okay, right, okay, fine.
Yeah, but if that feels great. With a great presence in VR, then that will be enough to.
Mate, I'll be knocking the fucking things off my mantelpiece. It's hard enough playing poker. I'm fucking punching the sofa and shit, trying to raise. It's ridiculous. Okay, cool. Well, did they give it any sort of release date? Was it March?
It's March next year.
Okay, so it'll be soon. We'll find out soon.
Mm-hmm. Hope it doesn't get delayed.
Yeah. Okay. Next story is I've got a Google Stadia story.
Hey.
It's only a really brief one. It's basically that some users are complaining of what they're saying are extremely hot Chromecast Ultras. And so what this is people have been complaining on Reddit saying that their Chromecast Ultras have been shutting down mid-game without progress being saved or whatever. And then when they've then gone to do a reboot, they found it's really hot to touch. Google have responded. This is what they said. They said,
"There's no fucking problem," didn't they?
That's basically what they said. They said, "Thanks for bringing this to our attention. We know any sort of heat on a device can be worrisome, but we can confirm that there is no thermal overheating issues with the Chromecast Ultra." During
so basically, the response is, "No, it isn't."
Yeah, it's during normal usage, the surface of the device may get warm to the touch, but this is working as designed. The team has done extensive testing on the hardware service and games. This includes tests of long Stadia play and video sessions, and have not seen thermal shutdown problems. So basically, that's fine.
It's like what we were talking about the other week, Sean. Well, I don't have that problem.
Yeah. Some of the responses have been, the one guy called Raltech, he just said, mine has not successfully run a game on the Chromecast longer than 10 minutes before it shuts down. Somebody else said, I want to point out that when it's working, Stadia works wonderfully, and I want it to succeed. That said, you can't tell me that this problem doesn't exist when I clearly experienced it, and other users are stating this is a Chromecast Ultra issue that predates Stadia. It's literally to the point where people have had to come up with their own homemade heat sinks.
Wow.
So that's interesting. But Google's response has basically been, nah, it's fine. It's absolutely
Yeah, it's a
fine.
shit response, isn't it? I mean, all hardware has this problem. You know, Samsung's had it. God knows Samsung have had it. You know, Matt had that problem with his Switch, didn't he? Exactly that.
Yeah.
You know, all hardware has this sort of shit. Probably best to come out with a statement saying we advise anyone that is experiencing overheating with their, you know, we believe that it's a small amount of people that might be affected by overheating issues. If you contact us, we will issue a replacement. That sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Just go.
Well, the thing
just
is
own
that
up to
if
it.
they're
Just say, well,
making-
it's not loads of people, but if yours is doing that, then it's broken and we'll replace it. End of.
Yeah. Because the thing is, I mean, they produce like thousands and hundreds of thousands of these things, and you're always going to get a couple, aren't you, that have probably
absolutely.
got problems in manufacturing process. So that's probably all it is. But you know, it's the response is not great.
The ones that are made on a Friday, mate. Everyone just wants to go home, get it done, and we'll put them together. Fuck it, that'll do. We'll go down a pub.
They can make their own heat sinks. Anyway,
Nerds.
then we got next story is Amazon are also reportedly going to do a game streaming service next year.
Of course they are.
Yeah,
Of course they are. They love it.
Yeah, I mean,
don't
I'm
they?
not surprised.
They love
Everyone's going to get
catching
into
onto
it. I'm not surprised at all.
It's going to be
this is
interesting, though,
apparent-
isn't it? Like, everyone fucking gets involved, and who's going to still be standing in, 5 years?
It's like a really bad battle royale. Microsoft and Sony probably.
Yeah.
I mean, apparently, according to this, I mean, it's expected to launch by Christmas next year, and they've been hiring people away from Microsoft apparently to work on it, and it's supposed to be, it's going to integrate with Twitch is the idea. So I guess in the same way that YouTube does with Stadia. And
Do you reckon they tried to get Major Nels? Do you reckon they approached him? Hey, Major, come here a minute. You want to
hear
for Amazon?
Do you want to hear a Michael Pachter quote?
Oh,
Yes.
yes, please.
I mean, this is amazing, actually. He's just said, Michael Pachter predicted the service launch by the end of the year, adding, the odds of them letting the Scarlet and PS5 launch without Amazon being there is 0. So, he's not taking many risks with that one, but it's...
Come on, Pat. So put now you flagged to the whatever.
Just quickly, speaking of Major Nelson, I was shocked. So I've been listening to Gary's podcast, Making Games is Fun, and he interviewed Alexis Trust a couple of months back, and they were like, "Oh yeah, I wrote Major Nelson's blog for a bit." Doesn't write his own fucking blog. I mean,
It's too big for that.
Yeah, I mean, I should have seen this coming, but he doesn't write his own blog. It's just whoever's working on the social side of things. They just take it in turns.
Also,
I
if you're
think.
going to take a little bit of cash for a plug, let me know up front, right? Because that's got to be split 4 ways. Fucking hell. Go on.
I hope you got your 40 quid, Sean. I'm
Fucking
not
Sean.
surprised. I mean, obviously, Amazon have their own engine. They bought Twitch. They bought a couple of studios. They've had people move join the team. Amazon going to do this thing. Facebook, they're all going to do it because they've all got sort of the data centers, and this clearly feels like a movement that the industry is going towards. So I'm not surprised. But having said that, I think Amazon might have released one game potentially on their Lumberyard engine, which they got and they've developed. I'm not sure what that game was.
Isn't it? It was the Grand Tour, wasn't it? They did the driving game.
Oh yeah,
based
of
on the
course,
Grand Tour.
and that came when.
I
So
thought you were going to say it was Fortnite. Have you heard of that one, guys? Amazon Fortnite.
yeah, so and Lumberyard, I don't really hear much about that. Obviously, nothing like Unreal and other things. That maybe it's unfair because they've been around a lot longer. But I don't have much confidence. But I also, obviously they're going to give it a go. But also and with Amazon Fire TVs and Amazon Fire Sticks and stuff they've tried stuff in the past where they had a pad and they had a games initiative a few years ago at one of the conferences, and nothing ever really came from it. So, I'm not surprised. And obviously, the Twitch integration is going to be interesting because Twitch is a big deal in gaming. So, very interested to see what they do. But I think we're going to hear a lot more of these. I mean, this sort of thing, I wouldn't be surprised if Samsung gets involved and Apple, Apple Arcade. But anyone big with money in data centers, they're all going to get involved, aren't they?
Who's
It'd
next?
be brilliant,
Matt?
though, wouldn't it? It'd be like Samsung with Bixby Assistant. Doing the whole.
Yeah.
Imagine if Sega announced they were doing one. How confident would you be?
the thing is, you're going to get like a whole ton of these. Like Matt said, you're going to have like Facebook, Amazon. They're all going to have Tomb Raider and assorted Ubisoft games on them, and that'll be it.
JVC, they'll be doing one soon, won't they?
And a Sonic, mate.
If Sega got involved, I mean, like, call it Streamcast, surely. Streamcast 2. Done.
Nice.
That's your cue.
Next story.
It was a good one, though. Okay. Okay, so last one is Amy Hennig has joined Skydance Media to create what have been called new story-focused experiences on emerging streaming platforms. So, yeah, I guess
Walking
that's...
Dead on Stadia, baby. Coming 2020. Okay, fine. I'm glad she's finding work, and I hope she can put this whole eBay thing behind her.
It's weird, isn't it, how she seems to keep getting moved around at the moment, probably by her own volition. I'm not saying like people are kicking her out or whatever. It's just after she had such an amazing career, and then she worked on. So yeah, obviously she did Uncharted was the last thing she did that actually came out, right? And then from that was doing the Star Wars game with EA that got binned, and then she was working somewhere else, and now she's working here.
I'm surprised Microsoft haven't put her on a project. Really surprised, actually, because she's got such a high reputation and people follow her name. It makes headlines when she gets work. So I'm surprised Microsoft haven't tried to. And maybe they have. Who knows? But it's.
But this is a precedent. So it's not. It feels like she's more overseeing. It's not like she's even there properly making the things, but
no, of course not. But she's
sort of beyond that now, but she'd rather like direct teams to do what she's done in the past. But yeah, it is strange and a shame that she's not actually working and doing the stuff like she has been in the past. And the last few years have obviously hasn't been great for her since 2014 when she joined EA. But you're totally right, Dave. I can't believe that Microsoft didn't say, go on. We want strong single player narrative experiences on our platform. Just here's a check. Do what you want.
Yeah, because obviously because Uncharted and to a lesser extent the Legacy of Kain games like that. Yeah, like you say that sort of story focused single player thing has been very much Sony's thing for a long time. So yeah, if Microsoft had got her over and just went, look, do an Uncharted or a Last of Us, something in that.
So she was in Legacy of Kain, did she?
She did, yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean that's a franchise that's sort of ripe for bringing back. I mean, maybe
people
a lot
have been crying for it for years.
Haven't heard of it or aren't bothered, but like that was massive, in the day. Like imagine Microsoft saying Legacy of Kain's coming back. Hennig's involved. It'll be big, won't it? Big stuff.
I'm trying to think who even. So it'd be Square Enix now who owns it, right? Because it was Eidos. So I think,
Oculus Interactive.
Yeah. So yeah, no, that'd be cool. Well, because they were going to bring Legacy came back with that.
It's been rumoured,
and then it was and then they made quite a bit of it, and then it got binned. But yeah, because so this is who she's working for now. It's a film company, isn't it? But actually, they're getting into.
That's what Skydance was. Because they were the ones that took on because they own. Don't they own like Walking Dead, like the properties or whatever for it, like the whole thing?
Isn't that why they? No, that's Robert Kirkman's,
isn't it?
Yeah, Skybound.
I'm sorry, I'm getting confused. Yeah, it's
But yeah, they made Mission Impossible Fallout and the new Terminator.
Oh dear. Okay.
So,
have you seen it, Sean?
I haven't. No, I've just heard not amazing things. I mean, the Mission Impossible films are all brilliant.
Yeah, they're amazing.
But I haven't seen Terminator.
It was.
You looked into that, didn't you? After we spoke about it last week, James.
What was that?
The new Terminator game.
I've not the game, the film I've seen, but I've not seen the.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, what's the film like?
It's all right, but it's I mean, people say it's the best of the ones that came after 1 and 2, but I mean that's a very low bar, like generally, and it's okay, but it's not that great. But there you go.
Okay, right, are we done with the news?
That's it. Yeah, that's all I got.
Well, I'm very excited this week, so let's get straight into it. James, how long's it been?
It's been 18 years, Dave.
18 years of wondering what the fuck happened to Landy.
Yeah. And the floating sword.
I'm very excited, and I should say up front, I will be streaming this week. I don't know when. Like Matt, he gets upset with me.
I should mention the name of the game.
I'm just building up to it, Matt. Calm down. Let's build it up to it. I will be streaming Shenmue 3 this week. Very excited, and that is a massive thank you to Mark at MF Gamers. Do you remember the name MF Gamers, guys?
I do. It sounds familiar.
Yes, because they were like massive supporters. It's a forum. They were massive supporters of us on Joypod, and then that's followed through to TCGS. There's a few people talking about us over on that forum, and I've always like checked in on there, and because it was great when we broke into, because we were primarily a Roll Muck forum podcast, and then we broke onto these other forums and seeing someone else, and the MF Gamers were one of the first to pick up on Joypod and stuff. So, and Mark from there has sent me a copy of the game, and I will be streaming that this week. I'm very excited, and I've only just completed Shenmue 2, so God knows what's going through your game. Can you explain that before you get into it, James?
Yeah.
What is going through your game as you are downloading it and booting it up for the first time?
Do you mean what was going through my mind?
Yeah.
What did I say?
What's going through your game?
Yeah.
What was going through your game, James? What was going through that game of yours?
Well, you see, when I downloaded it, I tweeted, I was just like, I can't believe I'm downloading this game right now. Like,
but were you really doing that?
Honestly, because the thing is I haven't... Okay, so I backed it when the whole Kickstarter thing happened, but then I unsubscribed from the emails that you get, because I know they were sending them out like every 5 seconds or whatever about what was going on.
Were they really?
Like throughout development, they were just like, there was constant noise. And I've also avoided pretty much all the trailers as well. Like, I've only seen like a couple of them, like when we talked about them when they first came out, and we were like, oh, that looks a bit ropey or whatever. But in general, I tried to avoid everything because I just wanted to go into it without having kind of preconceptions as to what the game was going to be. So I was very excited, actually, to download it. And it's funny because there's been so many games that have come out recently as well. I've got like 3 other like massive games that I've given up now to play this because I just haven't got time, to play all of them at the same time. So I wanted to get straight into this, and it's weird because I downloaded it and I didn't actually play it for a couple of days because I just looked at it and kept on seeing it there and just thinking I should start that, but I don't feel like I really want to for some reason. I don't know what that was about. But I ended up starting it, I think it was on Thursday or Friday, and then I played it over most of this weekend as well. I think I've played probably totally about 6 to 8 hours of it. And, I mean, I want to get it out of the way from the outset and just say, I love it.
Really?
Yeah, I really love it, actually.
Is it Shenmue? Right, because one of the... I'll ask you this up front, right? But one of the things that's blown my mind is how many people are saying, oh, it's just like Shenmue 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And I'm going... I found those 2 games so wildly, horrifically different that I cannot believe people are bundling them together and say, oh, if you like... You should really try out Shenmue 1 and 2. No, try 1. Right, really good. When you get to the end of that, read about Shenmue 2, and then we'll see where we go from there. Is this Shenmue 1 or 2?
Can I answer that when I've got through all this stuff? Because
just give me a heads up.
In some ways,
is the answer to your question. Go on, what?
In some ways, I feel it's more like 2, to be honest. In some ways. No. But I need to qualify a lot of this.
All right, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's go through your notes.
So, first of all, can I just set the scene? Because, it starts with Ryo and Shenmue.
Oh, God, it's happening like this. Go on, this is going to be... Watch out, listeners. This is going to be cringeworthy. Go.
What do you want me to do, Dave? Do you want me to read
it
this
out?
or not?
No, I read you to read it out word for word now.
No, I was just going to say like where the game starts, and it starts with Ryo and Shenmue like leaving the cave after they found that floating sword. Like, you did up to that bit, like at the end of Shenmue 2. And,
I love the fact that it just picks up straight from there. That's great.
But then it's really weird because the floating sword thing never mentioned. They never mention that at all, and it's really weird also because. This is the thing that was strange, because I put it on, and Shen was sitting there, and I said, look at that, and she was like, yeah, it looks all right, and she'd seen your stream, like the end of your stream, and I said to her, I was like, what you can see in this game here is how, in my mind, Shenmue 2 looked. And it's like there's like this huge like jarring like disconnect because it really does look quite good with that. But it's odd because they come out of this cave, they start walking down towards this village, and they had this conversation, and it's exactly like the conversations from 1 and 2 in the sense that it's really jarring. There's all these like weird jump cuts as well when they're talking. Like they'll be talking and then suddenly it will like fade to black. And then it will just go to a different camera angle, and then they'll start talking again. And all the conversations are really stilted and a bit kind of odd, and that maybe isn't so good. But
yeah,
I still was. That was the point where I was like, oh, this really is like a continuation. It's like really like exactly the same as what had come before. So the whole point at the beginning of the game seems to be that you're trying to find Shenhua's father, who is a stonemason, and it's all related to the involvement with the Phoenix Mirror. So, like, he was involved in like chiseling like stuff, for that, and he's disappeared, and so have a bunch of other stonemasons as well around the village. So you have to explore this village and then try and figure out what has happened to all these stonemasons. That's where I'm up to at the moment, and each day, like, it's quite a lot like Shenmue 1 in the sense that it involves like investigating by going around talking to the villagers and like unpicking clues, and then sort of like, having to find like, where is this person, like who was he talking to. You find like one part, you find like a photograph and you've got to like figure out who the people are in the photographs and stuff. And it's incredibly like slow paced, like really, really slow paced, and it really sort of shows the difference between Shenmue and like Yakuza, because this is much more of like a detective game than an action game, like much, much more so, and more so in this sense. I feel it's more like Shenmue 1, like really, because it was much more like that in that, wasn't it? Like finding like clues and stuff like that, and then picking things together. Would you say?
Sort of, yeah, but it was more kind of like, here is the clue, and someone will tell you what that clue is, and then tell you where to go, and then you go to that place, and there's the other clue, and then you just, you know what I mean? It wasn't really, you were trying to work out a puzzle. It was just more like, go here, and there's a clue, go there, and there's a clue. It was
it's exactly like that.
Okay, cool.
It's really exactly like that. It's not at all complicated, but the thing is like the story progresses like very slowly, like, and very slightly every day, like sometimes not even at all, because part of the other reason that you're spending time in this village is that you're trying to improve yourself. And like what I mean by that is that you have to like, you spend time like practicing like martial arts, like earning money, like you do this like chopping wood mini game and stuff. And there's also like the usual. It's quite fun though. I actually quite enjoyed that. It's pretty good, although you don't earn a lot of cash from it. But there's also like, you play like arcade games, and they're terrible actually this time around. And there's also like gambling that you can do. The martial arts side of the thing is odd, because I think Capone like tweeted this like a picture of it where it just says like, the first time you do it, it pops up and it just says, press these buttons to fight. And it's just like, okay, so what do I do? I just mash these buttons, and then that's it. And like the fighting in like at the start, I need to say in the beginning, the fighting at the start feels like really like clunky and horrible. Like I really hated it. It felt nothing like even like Virtua Fighter or anything like that. It just felt really sort of like clunky, really sort of stilted, and not very fun. But then it has the same system whereby you find like the skill books, and then you have to spend time like upgrading your character by doing sparring with other people. And this is what I'm quite enjoying about this, because although the story doesn't progress very much, you spend time like walking around the village, you spend time talking with people, and you do sort of build relationships with others as well. Although it's a bit more like Shenmue 2 in the sense that the relationships, the conversations you have with other people are all contextual based on whatever Ryo is looking for at that moment.
That sucks.
Yeah, and so often it's like you just talk to them, and whatever there's no dialogue options, obviously. So most of the things are like, oh, I'm looking for, this like, this like, I don't know, like location or something. And every single person he asks, he'll just ask the same question. And that has disappointed me, because I was really hoping that you'd be able to, because I'm pretty certain like in Shenmue, like the first one, there are more different dialogue options, yeah.
Oh my god, no, there's not options as such, but you can go up to someone and they'll tell you a story about something that's going on, and then you can go and see it play out.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like you see someone complaining about someone, then you see that person, and that becomes a thing, and you go back later. Like one of the best things to do was to, I've spoken to that character 3 or 4 times. Let's see if that story they were telling me about has progressed in any way. And half the time it had. And that was what I liked about it.
You get that a little in this at the start, but then it becomes super focused. Like from most of the people I've talked to, it's always just contextual based on whatever you're looking for, which I found that disappointing, because then for that reason I don't feel like I'm like building a massive relationship with people here. It's like they still the way that they talk to you changes over time. Like they become more friendly the more that you spend, the more that you talk with them and everything. But in general, it is still just focused, and that is disappointing. And I guess that is also part of the nature of what this game is, in the sense of like this is a Kickstarter game where I'm making excuses here, but where it's like they've got to do it like super focus, to like get through whatever.
Come on,
But,
that is excuses.
well, well, obviously,
there's been games been made with far less money by far fewer people that have explored like more personal relationships.
Also, you do have like contextual stuff that happens whereby like you can walk past someone and it will like flash up with like this sort of like yellow symbol, which means that basically they're going to give you like some sort of extra like quest or something, like some extra like thing to do. Like there was this one where this guy, like it's often around kids, like this kid wants a football, so you've got to like try and find where you can get a football from and things like that. So there are like little things like that you can do where you can sort of like...
Does it have a quest log to keep track of that stuff?
Yeah. It's still got the notebook, which the notebook's like pretty much the same. It's just that it's got maps and stuff like that. It's a bit more detailed.
That's not very Shenmue though, is it really? Like a quest log like that?
No, because what it is it comes up and it's just like, it will just say things like, oh, this kid's looking for a football or whatever, and then it's...
Okay.
So it won't
just like... there's not a list of like get football for boy in...
No,
right,
it's written like in note form, like in the similar sort of way. So it does work. It's kind of okay. But I mean, as I said, the martial arts side is the thing that I'm enjoying the most, because you do feel like Ryo's power is increasing, because as you start to go through the story, you come up against people who like you can't really beat. Like it takes like and you do start to realize, okay, I do actually need to spend some time here, like strengthening him, and like doing like exercises and stuff. I mean, that picture I posted the other day of like my son like copying him, like doing the horse stance and things like that. It's like, you have to do like a lot of things like that, and it is repetitive, and it is like not. It's one of those things where it's like, on the surface of it, you look at it and you think, this isn't fun. Like, this is just, I'm just sitting here tapping a button, and doing it. But then on the other hand, it's part of the atmosphere of this character and what you're trying to do. Like, you're trying to make him better. And that's like part of the point of it. And, I mean, go on.
I'm not sure I'm on board with
No, you're going to hate it, Dave. I'm absolutely certain you're going to hate it. But also, I mean, the thing is though, is that like each in-game day that I've woken up, it's like you then have to like figure out how you're going to spend your day, and that's when you're like waking up and thinking, okay, today I'm going to like I've got to go back to this place and fight these bandits, but I'm not strong enough yet. I also need some cash, so I'm going to go and chop some wood. Then after that, I'm going to do some like exercises and then do some sparring with someone, and then maybe go and play some arcade games or whatever. And it's that kind of like, it's very, very slow paced to the point of I'm just existing in this world. Actually, I'm not really having much of an impact on it until I decide that I'm going to. Like after I've feel that I'm strong enough.
But what's the point in existing in a world if you're not having the various different relations building?
Well, because you are to a degree, because you're building a relationship with Shenhua as well, because every day after you finish like whatever you're doing, you go back and you have conversation with her. And the conversation...
You have a conversation with her?
Well, no,
sorry, that just sounds weird.
Well, no, and it's also weird because it does that like Ryo creepy thing, like how he like hovers behind people and stuff.
Yeah,
and it's like it does that quite a lot, which is a bit.
I mean, he's a creepy motherfucker.
Oh, he is.
I told you, Sean, right, that there's this female martial arts expert lets you stay in her house.
I don't think you did mention this. No, go on.
And she goes to sleep. They share a room. He walks in and instantly thinks they're sharing a bed. And she goes, no, you're in that little side bed over there. And then there's a shot of him just watching her sleep. Just like...
Fucking hell.
Just laying on his side, eyes wide open, just watching her sleep.
Jesus.
It's,
So I presume they haven't updated that then for...
No, not
the same...
It's no, actually, because you're staying in the same house, like in Shenhua's house, and like if you try and go in her bedroom, he's like, nope, that's her bedroom, I'm not going in there. And so maybe he's learned some rules or something.
Yeah, it's a step forward. Sounds like progression.
So, but like every day you go back and then you talk with her about like the progression of what's going on, like how closer you are to finding where her dad's gone. But then also they start to like open up to each other about their life experience and the things they've done and like, where he comes from and, like her experience, like living in this like small village and stuff. And it's quite nice. It's quite like, you do feel like you're building a rapport. Also, because then when you go back into the village to talk with other people, they like react if she's with you or if she's not with you, and there's one guy who's clearly really jealous of you and has a thing for her because he's really hostile like a lot of the time, and like whenever you like bring anything up to do with her, he gets like really like uptight about it. It's which is pretty interesting. I'm quite enjoying that.
You sounded unhealthily angry at the guy.
Yeah.
He's really bitter and he sucks. He sucks.
But then,
yeah, I mean, it's weird. Reading the stuff that I've read about this game and going by what you're saying, there's part of me that sort of finds it really... like, I think the best possible thing they could have done with this game was to really roll it back to, like, in terms of gameplay, in terms of what you're doing, to keep the core values of the original Shenmues, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's part of me that thinks that's actually the best way they could have possibly done it. Because if they'd tried new things and failed, it would have pissed off the fans of the Shenmue series, and it would have been laughable to the broader gaming press or gaming community, if you want to call it that. I don't want to call it that, but that's what I went with. If the fact that they've rolled it back to play just as those games did makes me think, actually, well, that's quite smart, because those that love the original games will quite like that nostalgia here.
Yeah.
And those that don't like that stuff would never have probably weren't interested in this game in the first place. So they're appealing to their fans. But then there is part of me that also goes, no, wait, they really should have expanded, taken the core values and expanded on them in a 2019 way. You know, taken that the excitement of walking around you're not necessarily always a fish out of water, but walking around a town that feels like it's busy, but expanding upon that and having that sort of sense of community in this small area that you're experiencing, rather than it just being a point and click adventure where literally every NPC around you is there for you and your adventure. It don't really work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can kind of understand why they've done it. I guess I'm not totally disappointed that they haven't looked into sort of modernising the game to some extent. And I use that term cautiously because I know that people would be dead against that. But there are aspects of those Shenmue games that could be modifiable, modernised, but still felt like they were in touch with those core values of those games. And it's a little bit disappointing to hear that they haven't really done that.
See, it's what you say, because I mean, playing this game has made me feel like I'm in my early 20s again, and because it really does just feel like nostalgia. Like, in terms of there's so many things they could have like done. Actually, I think, like as you say, to improve it. I mean, even simple things like you can't skip any dialogue at all in this. Like, you can't like skip through things. You have to listen.
Oh, you can do that in Shenmue 2.
You can't in this. It's you have to sit here and like go through like whatever they're saying. You can skip some cutscenes by holding down the circle button, but in general, whenever they're like talking, you have to sit there and listen to it. And it's part. I mean, that's fine because it's part of the sort of the slower pace and everything. But also, there is a lot of repeated dialogue as well for things, especially like when you're talking.
Oh, that sucks, man. Yeah, when you go back and talk to someone.
Yeah.
Can you pause cutscenes?
I don't know, actually. I've not tried that. Because actually there hasn't been that many cutscenes, to be honest, like from what I've played so far. It's been mostly just, like conversations with people. And
the original ones didn't have crazy cutscenes in them, did they?
And it's also the cutscenes, like the dialogue scenes are really weird because they still do that whole thing, as I said at the beginning, of like they cut between things and like suddenly a black screen and you think, okay, that's over, and then it's just them talking again but from a different angle, and it's like, that's really odd. And I mean, the other thing that's really odd about it is the music, because the music, you see, that's one of the things that I always enjoyed the most about Shenmue, and I still listen to the soundtrack. I've been listening to it for 18 years now or whatever, and I love it. I think it's fantastic. And this one, it's mostly like remix stuff from the original soundtrack. But then what they do is really odd, because it's like you'll be walking around the village and there'll be some music playing, and then eventually it will get to the end of the track, like clearly, and then there'll be just silence for about, I don't know, 10 seconds or so, and then it will just start up again. And you're just like, that's really odd. Like, normally, like in the other games, they never did that. It was always like on a loop or whatever, but not an obvious loop. But in this, it's just, and then also you can be like moving from one area to another, and then it will suddenly start up, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm in this bit again now. And it's just, it's odd. It's like really jarring, like the way that happens. I mean, there's also a bunch of other things that are at the start made this
Catching it now.
at the start made this difficult for me as well, because the thing is, right, is as with the Yakuza games like Shenmue and like Shenmue 1 and 2, as I said, I've enjoyed existing in the world, but it's a world, the world of Shenmue and Shenmue like 1 and 2, like I feel like I've kind of moved on from those first two games, and they were games that sort of inspired me to want to study China and all that kind of stuff I did before. And the thing is that Hong Kong, like in Shenmue 2, was never particularly accurate in Shenmue 2. But I said to Sean, and I think I said to all of you like earlier on, it's like this depiction of China is like on an entirely other level, because I have to keep in my mind all the time now that this is fantasy China. This is not. This is nothing like China was in the 1980s, like at all. Like there's no way that there's any you can say that this is like a historically or accurate like depiction, which I still find odd, because I always thought that one of the things about the first game in particular was this idea of like trying to model life, like trying to show what this was, and this is absolutely not.
I've only played Shenmue 1, but it's not glamorous, is it? It's not like
no,
pretty much every game set in Japan is like, whoa, look, it's Tokyo, it's that big crossing in the middle of Tokyo that you've seen and everything, and it's all amazing. Whereas Shenmue is very much like, here is a little suburb with some shops.
Here's a mundane like suburb. It's quite grey, it's quite boring, but it's like there's still a community here, and. The thing with this is, I mean, it looks beautiful, obviously, like the whole village that they created looks absolutely beautiful. But the thing is this is like China in the 1980s, and this is a place which, in reality, is still a place of like collective farms and recovering from the Cultural Revolution. And there's like no mention of that whatsoever here. And like also like the way that the characters dress and everything is completely like fantasy China, as in like like the costumes and the whole thing. And there's also like a whole bunch of other like historical inaccuracies. Like part of the plot in like doesn't make any sense at all, like considering what was going on in the country at the time. And there's
the magic mirrors and the flying swords?
No, not just that, but also like talking about emperors and like emperors, envoys and stuff like that. And it's like that wasn't going on. There'd already been a revolution by this point and all this kind of stuff. You've got like the money has a panda on it instead of Mao, and it's just. There's also, like the villagers are engaged in gambling, and that sort of stuff was like officially banned. Like that time, that didn't go on. So it's totally like a fantasy depiction, really, of the country. But I'm fine with that. I've had to make my peace with that. That this is not accurate at all. This is like an imagined version, maybe of what it.
But that's always what Shenmue was, right?
I don't know, because this is what I'm saying. Because I felt like the first game in particular, he was like shooting for this being like realism. Like that's the whole thing I felt with like with Shenmue 1.
But he wasn't hitting that.
No, maybe I think he did. I think with the first game he did. Like certainly, like Shenmue 2, maybe not, because as I said, Hong Kong, he's not really like that. But
Kowloon was supposed to be like totally different or some shit.
And it's and this feels much more like that. I mean, this is, as I said, this is fantasy depiction, which it's fine, but it's just not. Yeah, I don't know. I've had to just get over that and just feel that it's totally fine, which is okay.
I should also point out that in the Getaway, that was a pretty accurate depiction of London and everything that goes on here.
Yeah.
Know what I'm saying?
But then also
lots of swearing.
Yeah.
Go on.
The other thing is the character models look a bit odd as well. And
yeah, I've seen them. They're kind of the rectangle, aren't they?
Well, no, this is what's
not in the
strange.
traditional like gaming sense where we go, they're all blocky. But it's just their shoulders seem like way too wide. It's just that,
it's really weird, because Chen's Note commented on this as well, where you've got some characters look really good and like they look absolutely fine. Like they look better than they did obviously in the first two games, and they look really good. But some characters look like, for some reason, they've got cartoon faces. It's just
really?
It's very strange and really jarring. Like when you see that, it looks very odd.
Are you playing with what are you playing with? Subtitles with Japanese language, or
I'm doing that. Yeah, I'm playing it with the Japanese language subtitles, which is also a bit weird, to be honest, because it's like the thing is when I play. Oh no, I'm not going to talk about this because it sounds wanky and stupid.
Go on, go on.
No, because it's like when I play it now, you're like in a Chinese village. There's Chinese characters all over the place, but they're not speaking Chinese, and it feels a bit weird. Mm-hmm. It's like it just sounds weird because you're like it doesn't. What they're saying is not what it looks like they should be saying.
Suspend reality a little bit.
Exactly, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do that, and that's why once I started to do that, that's when I began to enjoy it a lot more. When I started to just think, okay, this is Fantasyland, and that's fine.
I mean,
and,
I'm kind of glad I'm not watching the next Star Wars film with you now. I'm kind of glad that's not going ahead.
I mean, I get where he's coming from
you're
because,
right, James.
like, do you remember?
I'm just trying to understand how all these people from different planets speak English. I'm trying to teach myself to drop it. There's like the force. It doesn't make sense.
No, I get it because remember, like with Hitman, and it was like, hey, let's go to Italy, and it's just full of people being like, hey, I'm an Italian. Like, it was a bit jarring. So I get it.
I like that. I like it.
The thing of it is,
but Chernobyl was like that, wasn't it? Or what do you call? What's credit?
Chernobyl.
Best?
Chernobyl.
Chernobyl was like that, wasn't it? Because they were all just British.
Yeah.
It was just really. That was a bit like. Yeah, I know what you're saying. That was a bit odd. I was like, hello.
But then is it patronising to just right? Everyone speak English, but like with an accent. Just
that's also
worse,
bad. You've got to communicate in the right way, haven't you? I guess.
And I mean, the thing is with this overall is that, as we've said, it's absolutely a massive throwback for like 20 years ago. And if the game was set anywhere else, and if it was about anything else, I'd feel very, very differently about this. But because it wouldn't have like the nostalgic sort of factor for me that this does. But I am genuinely very happy with this so far. I feel it was. I'm so many people have said this, but I'm really glad that it exists. I'm glad that they've done this because
I'm not a massive fan of that phrase, but but
it could have been much worse. Like it's not.
See the way, I know, but the way I see it, right, is that you've got to give them props for having the balls to not try and introduce Shenmue to an audience. It sounds like they're not doing that.
No, they're not at all. No.
And they're like, "You not played Shenmue? Well, fuck you." This is literally just for the people that have played through 1 and 2.
But
that's
the
feeling
that was
I get.
the right
How
thing
do you
to do
review
because,
something like that?
I mean, Shenmue and Shenmue 2 didn't. Like, they failed, didn't they? Let's be honest. Like, they didn't do that well when they first came out.
Of course they were, yeah.
And there's a reason for that, and it's because there are a lot of problems with it, and, it came out on the back...
Fucking weird.
Well, exactly, yeah. Whereas, I mean, Yakuza came, and it showed, that you can do things, like, in a much more, like, sort of fun game way, as it were. Like, there's so much stuff you... Like, the thing is like Kiryu's, like, character, like, evolves over, like, a Yakuza game. But... when you're like upgrading the character, like the things you're doing to do that are really fun to do. Whereas this feels like work. That's the difference between the two games. I feel this feels like work. That feels like mostly just fun. And it's, but fuck off. But it's just, and it's just like, I mean, with this is like it could be better, definitely, but I don't really care that it isn't. It's because I'm still enjoying it.
And that's the feeling you get, isn't it? Those that are into Shenmue are going into this loving it because it is a big middle finger to anyone that's interested.
Yeah,
I mean, that hasn't played the original.
I do think you're probably not going to like it very much because as I said, the pacing is really slow, and I think it is a lot more like the second game than the first in terms of being like you have to go wherever they want you to go and stuff. But overall,
we'll see. We'll see. Is just one more question? They haven't just mimicked the way it controls, though, to move the character around.
No. It's modern controls.
Thank God for that. Because, honestly, that was the worst thing about playing those old games. It was just, like, pressing the trigger button to run, which wasn't so bad. Like,
you still do that.
Wasn't the end of it.
Yeah,
and that's fine. But it was the fact that it was kind of like... Oh, yeah, that whole zooming in. It don't do the zooming in.
Yeah, you can still do that as well, yeah. You can do, like, you hold down, like, the left trigger and it, like, zooms in on stuff. And, there's other really weird stuff, like the fact that if you want to, if you want to pause the game, normally...
Yeah, someone said this. I saw this on the forum on RLLMK.
Yeah, if you want to pause...
I'm trying to work out how to do this. Press L1 and go to the control menu. And it was like, what?
Yeah, it's like you don't press options, like, to pause it. Or to go to the options screen, you press R1, and it's like I don't know why. I don't know why it does that at all. No clue. It makes no sense.
Love it.
But yeah, there's lots of stuff like that, and it's just yeah. But yeah, I'm
can we
really
go back
it.
to start and select? Seriously, can we go back to start and select?
I mean, at least
Like-
the PS4 has those buttons which are named. What are the what do you call the buttons on the Xbox One?
Fucking
It's
insane.
like the lines and the two squares. It's
Okay,
like,
but I press 2 square button,
Yeah.
followed by the 3 lines button.
yeah, it's
one,
like
you know.
yeah. At least I know what the ones are called.
And
on
it's
PS4.
and it's great because like a PlayStation game can say like press options, which is weird, but at least those are words. Whereas Xbox games are just like press symbol.
And then it shows a weird symbol,
Yeah.
and then you always look down at your pad because you've forgotten which side is which. Okay, cool. Well, it sounds like a reasonable success in terms of Shenmue fans,
I
but
think so. Yeah.
maybe not so much in front of
I think
Well,
other
my stream
people
will
hate
be-
it, but I don't care.
Yeah, I mean,
stream will be starting soon.
like
Is it
I know
starting
what
this
you're
Saturday,
saying, Dave, about I'm glad it exists. It's you shouldn't give things a pass just for existing, but
No.
I am really glad that it's not
That it
shit.
exists.
Like I honestly thought this was going to be a total stinker from
Yeah.
the stuff they'd
But
shown.
I'm glad it exists to me, kind of. And it doesn't work in this context, but people usually say it as if, like, they're saying, I support what they're doing. I ain't gonna fucking buy it. It's like that's the feeling
I
I
think
get when
a lot of
say
people
that.
have said that in that meaning that, and I
Yeah.
don't mean it in that way. Like I genuinely am pleased that this is here and that so I can play it.
Cool. All right. Let's move on to the next game then. Should we go to Jedi Fallen Order? Because
That's basically all we've got.
all
Isn't
been
it?
playing it again this week.
Yeah.
It's kind of all I've got as well. So let's see where we're up to. I finished it. Matt, you finished it.
Yep.
Sean, you finished it. James, have you played much more?
I haven't touched it since I got this, so no.
Oh, really?
No.
Okay. Okay. So what are your final thoughts, Matt? What are your final thoughts?
Well, I've been all over the place for this game. I mean, hyped before release. I was like, oh god, maybe this isn't the game I thought it was going to be, and then started it very strong. And overall, I'm definitely happy I played it. I would definitely recommend it to people to play, but I have lots of issues with it, and it wasn't really as great or as fun as I had hoped it would be.
Okay. So what were your issues?
In the end, like the actual, Sekiro light, Dark Souls light control, battle or fighting mechanics didn't really work for me. I sort of wanted it to be more just like an Uncharted game, really. And yeah, I just that just sort of got in the way of my fun towards the end.
What difficulty did you play on?
Well, I flipped between literally all of them. So apart from the top one, so I started off at the one that's like second hardest. So there's a story, there's Jedi
Knight,
Knight.
Jedi Master, and then
so I started on Jedi
Grandmaster.
Master, which is like the second highest one. Then I was like, okay, struggling a bit, so I was like, I knocked it down. And at one point, I was actually playing on like story mode, and actually, I had the most fun playing on that mode.
I
was going
had
there,
exactly the same thing.
I could wail on people. I was like, this is better as a game.
What point did you knock it down? Like vaguely, because obviously we can't
So
spoil
the
anything.
first time I actually changed the difficulty was when I was trying to kill that you mentioned last week, Sean, the giant lizard enemy boss something in that cave on the first planet.
Octobocto.
So I was like, I tried ages to kill that dude, and I was like, I'll sod this, I'll knock it down.
But that was optional. Like, I thought that was obvious that you needed to go back there later.
Yeah, well, no, I wanted to kill it. I was like, I'll knock it down, and did that first time. I was like, okay, whatever. And then I put it back up to the second highest one, and then I don't know when. I mean, basically, actually, I'll tell you what. It's on that planet with when you go, and also like the Night Sisters.
Oh yeah.
A shithole planet.
Yeah, and I was like, you know
shithole
what?
planet,
Fuck this, right? I want to get this game done. I'm enjoying it, but I'm not going to let this control system scheme or whatever ruin it
Sean,
for me.
how about you?
So I can't remember. So yeah, started on Jedi Master. I can't remember when I knocked it down to Jedi Knight, and then it was when I was in like the final stretch. I was just like, yeah, do you know what? Let's just blast it.
Oh my god! Right. So the conversation we had Saturday night.
Oh,
Right,
so,
okay,
so for
'cause
that for that boss, I was still on Jedi Knight at that point.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying that you were wrong to knock it down.
Well,
I actually
gonna
find this
say,
very, very fascinating.
Yeah, no, it's. I think it's really interesting because, I'm not saying like, oh, it's the best way to play it by knocking it down on easy. I think it's just a good example of how different, like having the option to choose a different difficulty level works for different people.
Yeah, I really appreciate that actually, because I honestly had more fun, and like I just thought this is this is more of a game I sort of want to play, and it basically made me think. I wish it was more of an Uncharted experience than something that's trying to be potentially a Sekiro or Dark Souls-like game. But I want this to be, bombastic, crazy action scenes, big cuts, big, set pieces. And I didn't want to be stressing about, oh, fucking hell, if I die now, I'm going to have to go back. Yeah. When was the last time I sat at a meditation point?
Is that part of you trying to rush through it?
But possibly, I guess it. But I just wanted to enjoy it.
You've been saying a lot
enjoyed it
while
way
you've been
more
playing it.
when I made it easy. I was like, "This is great fun." I feel powerful with a lightsaber. I can still chain combos together and do all the things that I've spent upgrading my skill tree on. But I just felt like it felt like it was presented as like an Uncharted style experience with. Or just with great story and like cinematic moments, but I just felt like the control was sort of getting away for me personally. I play hard games, and I'm loving Sekiro, and I've loved Dark Souls, but for me, for this experience, I wanted something easier, and I just had way more fun when I knocked it down. And,
but you've got that. That's the cool thing. You've got that option. It's interesting because I did actually once I completed it, I went back to do loads of secret stuff and side stuff, and because it gives you that option. And I knocked it down for story for that because I was kind of like, I wonder what it feels like just in story mode. And yeah, you're right. It was a hell of a lot of fun just chopping through things without fear of like getting into prolonged battles or whatever. But I mean, Sean knows the struggle I went through on was it Saturday night? What I went through Saturday night was just unbelievable. And by the end of it, fuck. What I will say, right, so I only played it on Jedi Knight throughout the whole main story, and then I knocked it down to story mode, right? But I come up against that boss, there's two sort of big one-on-one bosses towards the end, right? I think that's not a spoiler to say. No. And not the last one, but the one before that, I fucking was banging my head against the wall. It's the first time that it felt like a Souls game to me because I'm repeatedly doing a boss run. I was running past the first few dudes before I got to it. And what clicked for me, first of all, I always thought, yeah, the controls are fine, but they don't feel as solid or as tight as they should be. But then when I got to that, everything sort of come together for me, and I was getting my ass kicked, but I was loving it, right? Because as I was playing, it felt like, and I kind of referred to it last week, it really did feel like an insane lightsaber battle, like a choreographed lightsaber. By the time I'd nailed it, I'd known all his moves. I knew how to counter them, and yeah, I would fuck up here and there. But it made this massive power struggle going back and forth between. And I showed you a couple of clips, Sean, that I'd sort of screened, like the first of the two where I was, beating the shit out of him. It was brilliant the way we'd have this massive, great big like scrap, and then we'd both back off and then face each other, and then all of a sudden I was running in and dashing in, and that. For me, is the moment where all the systems come together and was like, fuck me, no, actually, this is really, really good. Like, that's where I sort of went, yeah, I'm enjoying it, but there's a lot wrong with it. And yeah, there is still a lot wrong with it. But when all those systems come into play and work towards this incredibly visual, I don't know, spectacle, everything was going on in these fights. That I was just like, fuck me, this is brilliant. And then it had the usual, okay, it's going to chuck a shitload of enemies at you. That felt amazing. And then that final fight followed by that final bit that happens at the end, I was like, fuck me, this is just, this is brilliant. This is brilliant. I loved it. By the end of it, I totally fell for it by the end of it. And as I said, once it was done, I thought, okay, that's it. I almost deleted it from my hard drive. Woke up the next morning, I was like, now let's go back to a few planets and just go and have a look and explore a little bit more. And I'm not massively, excited to go back to it now that I've gone back to it for a few hours. It's not something that I'm thinking, yeah, no, there's a bunch more. Like with Luigi's Mansion, completed that. I want to find everything in it. I've got no feeling of wanting to find everything in this because a lot of the upgrades and stuff are kind of pointless. It's a different color lightsaber and stuff like that. It's not exactly the the most exciting unlockable. But for my experience as a whole, man, it was weird. It was a roller coaster journey for me. Like I went from hating it to loving it to hating it to loving it. But by the end, I'd completely fallen for it. Its characters, I thought its story was brilliant. When you listen to what we were, yes, Sean.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Let me ask you this: what we were saying about that story and where it was heading last week, that is the best possible way that they could have resolved that story.
Yeah.
Like, because it wasn't what we thought. They completely turned it around, and it worked. Like the whole build-up, his discovery. I thought it really, really worked. I
thought how the story ended up was fantastic. I thought it was a really excellent end. But I just think in terms of that, the destination was great. The journey, I don't think it did enough. Like some of the characters were really, forgettable. Really, one of the characters I loved. I'm not going to mention this character, but one that I loved that sort of helps you towards the end. I was like, I want more of that character. I thought,
and they just like randomly
was excellent.
Join you,
and it's a shame that they came in really close, really right near the end. I was like. I would much rather they were there from the beginning. I thought they were excellent.
I agree with that. Yeah. I thought that was a great character.
So I wanted more of that because that was excellent.
Yeah, the way that character interacted with everyone else was brilliant. Had a really nice dynamic to it.
I thought the main dude was just like, it's just totally. I didn't feel anything for him at any point, sadly, and I wanted to, but I was just like such a blank canvas. And by the end, I was like, nope. I feel the same about you now as I did when I saw the first trailer.
Not helped, even though by the fact that I know, Matt, we discussed this. There's a bit. This isn't a spoiler, but there is a bit later on where you're killing a load of enemies, but like. They're not really enemies. It's sort of...
That annoyed me so much. The point that was a major point about actually this game can sort of do one in some aspects. I mean, basically, you're Jedi. Jedis are good. We all know fear leads to hate, hate leads to suffering, etc., etc. That leads to the dark side. But there's one point where you go on a planet and you see, what you know as enemies because, they've got health bars above their head or whatever they've got. And, that's an enemy character. And there's a cutscene saying, I think it's a cutscene or something saying, I don't want to do this, but they're attacking me. So, okay, I'll kill these guys. And then... Okay, so
and you kill literally dozens of them.
Why am I killing everyone on this planet? You're supposed to be a Jedi. This is literally the thing you should not be doing as a Jedi. That really did my head in. Just because it's a video game. In 2019, we've got to kill every single person.
You said you wanted an Uncharted experience. That's about as Uncharted as it gets.
But Uncharted is, it is what it is. But this is like, you're supposed to be a Jedi, right. Which are supposed to be good, and you're literally killing everyone just because what? Because some of them are angry at you or whatever, and now you're like, well, I've got to kill everyone on the planet now.
Yeah, you would not get away. You would not get away with that in a Star Wars film.
Yeah, absolute bullshit. And it's
just massacring an entire village, basically.
Yeah, how can you get away with that? I thought that was so stupid. Yeah. Why do that?
Yeah. So that was a shame.
I don't know. It didn't bother me at all.
But his actions are not the actions of a Jedi. You can't be killing tons of people. All right,
that's the nerdiest I've ever heard you.
It's true, isn't it? Every time I was doing it, I was like, well, why?
And especially because partway through he makes a point of... Because you try and get in this village and then I think they block the way and then you find another route in and he even says like, this will be like a much stealthier route in or something. And you're like, oh, right, okay. So he was trying to avoid killing everyone.
Thank God.
No, you just drop into the village and start murdering everyone. Yeah. I said to Matt, it didn't really help that like by this point I'd realised you can kill most of the enemies by just force pulling them towards you and you just stick them like a pig and then just chuck them on the ground. So I was just doing that to everyone. It just looked horrible.
Oh god, that is once you get that move, that makes most enemies just completely useless.
Yeah. But I thought that sort of went against the story. But overall, I think the ending was fantastic. I thought it was the last bit was really awesome. Yeah. But I just think is it Kiri? Your sort of the friend you sort of work with along the way. Yeah. I thought I didn't feel much. She had a bit more of an interesting backstory than your one and. There was like an arc there.
Yeah, no, she had a great backstory, but
I've seen people saying like, it's like an amazing story about like getting over traumatic events from the past. Well, is it? It just seems like...
No, I don't think I wouldn't say that.
It just seems like people being like, this happened to me in the past and was bad. Now I've done most of the game and think I'm okay with it now.
Yeah.
Cheers.
I thought the pilot was about as good.
Grease,
a
Grease was
character that I've
excellent.
seen
I want more Grease
in
stuff.
any game.
But
recently.
even he,
You know,
like, he does this whole thing about how, like, he's like, oh, you know, traveling around with you guys is giving me something to believe in. And I was like, what? Like, he basically mentions twice that he had a bit of a gambling problem. But then it sort of implied that actually he was a total fucking horror show until you turned up. But then it's not. I don't know. I just found that really unclear. Yeah.
But for that, I thought, like, you know, this whole thing has sort of happened accidentally in many regards. But it's like, he was all like, oh, you know, since being with you guys, I'm like, it's been 2 minutes, mate. Like, am I supposed to really feel something? Because this adventure has fallen into your lap. And
I didn't. I had a completely different. I loved him. I
thought it was excellent, but like him saying, trying to make it emotional somehow. I was like, no, you haven't earned this. It's just like some adventure has happened.
Fuck off! There's loads of moments where he's having interactions with. Did you go up and talk to him?
Yeah. Of course. Yeah. I always make sure I chat with everyone before leaving the planet and going to the mission.
So you didn't have those emotional connections where he starts off where he's a little bit like he doesn't really trust you, and then you have these like little moments. You know, like I mentioned when you last week where you sort of pay him a compliment for his flying or whatever, and he just can't deal with it. You can see he's struggling. But he's got his defences up, and slowly they break down. And by the end of it, actually, you've got a real mutual respect for each other.
The relationship changed.
That really hit me.
But when I think about so my interactions with him were I do like a mission, go back, talk to him. There's a cutscene. I talk to him before going to the next planet. I was like, we haven't really done that much, and he's all like, oh, kid, you know. Before you guys, where was I? I don't know. I felt like it didn't hit me emotionally.
Maybe
like
that just happened later in the game for me then, because when he started showing that sort of, that was right towards that was like the final third for me when he started turning and.
I just felt like I wasn't really emotionally connected to him.
Yeah,
but he's I thought he was an awesome character, and I thought he was great. He was great, but just I didn't really feel like, oh god, yeah.
Also, I will say this, right? Okay, and I'm going to talk around it. But towards the end, the representation of power is it was so fucking clever.
Yeah.
Like, it was so good. The way it tricks you in one way and then takes it away, and then everything's going on, and you just think, oh yeah, I'm actually pathetic. Like, it is just. I fuck me. I loved it.
No,
I loved
that
it.
final stretch is amazing, and I can. I can totally see why you could come away from it like, yeah, actually, fuck it, that was great. I think personally, it's the same as Matt. There were too many missteps along the way. Like, I am glad I played it. I'm still just absolutely baffled by some of the reviews. I
loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm baffled by the 9s and 10s because I think technically there's way too many faults here for a modern console game, right?
Yeah.
But in terms of story, action, discovery, I loved it.
I loved it. It ends up as like a 7.5 for me in the end. I'm glad I played it. There are negatives, but definitely glad I played it. Excited to see what I do with. I'm sure I do more.
I hope they're given something new, and I hope that we're looking at something completely different next time.
So you think? There won't be another Jedi code on something else, or a totally different Star Wars.
No. I like if it's a game in the same vein, but I'd want new characters, new story.
I think they've got opportunity to do so now.
I would want Jedi Fallen Order 2.
Yeah, do another game, Jedi code on something, same universe, different timeline, different characters. I'll be up for that. I mean, I enjoyed it, but it had enough issues to sort of make me think I wasn't blown away by it. But I'm definitely glad I played it. It was fun.
Can I ask you a question, Matt? And this is not. I'm not trying to trap you or anything like that. No,
don't believe him.
No, this is not. I just genuinely want to know because you see, after I finish with Shenmue 3, I've got like 3 games that I need to go back to. I've got like what's it called, Outer Worlds. I've got Death Stranding, and I've got this like Fallen Order. Between Fallen Order and Death Stranding, which one did you like enjoy playing more? Really?
I mean, I had like less issues with Death Stranding, and I can't wait to go back to it. But they're 2 totally different games. I can't really. I mean, obviously, Fallen Order is shorter, so go to that, get it finished, and go on to Death Stranding. I reckon that's what I've done.
I know, but which one is more exciting? Do you feel? Because like
this is so low.
I know what you're
where's this going?
Yeah.
No, it's not, I'm not going anywhere because after playing Shenmue 3, which is not like a thrill a minute, I'm just thinking, where do I go next? And I just want to know, is this going to be more of a thrill, like a minute sort of thing than Death Stranding is? Because it's not.
Well, because Death Stranding is quite ponderous, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's quite.
Yeah, I always, whenever people say this, I've got a bunch of games to play. What should I play next? I always answer the shortest one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
play through the shortest ones, get those experiences out of the way.
Get it done, and then
because it's less time of thinking. Should I move on to the next one? Like you've got less time to think that. So get Fallen Order done and get onto Death Stranding. In my
that's
opinion,
the way I've done it.
Okay,
but don't just like bash through it. You know what I mean? Like because there's a lot of stuff that you can discover in this game that. Especially when you go back to some of the earlier planets
and
before, like to move on, it's like fuck me. When I found that thing on the first planet in the workshop, I think is the best way of describing that. Brilliant! Like the story around it, finding the echoes and discovering what that place was, and then finding that was like fuck yeah, fuck yes. Yeah, it was good.
I was just going to say that one of the bonuses of turning the difficulty down as well is that because I wasn't spending as much time banging my head against boss fights, that then freed up more time for me to go exploring and stuff. So it's not necessarily about turning the difficulty down allows you to rush it. It just gives you a bit more breathing space to do the exploration stuff if that's what you want.
Yeah.
You know?
I'd never ever go at anyone for turning the difficulty down on this because you play it how you want to play it. As I say, when I went back and I put it on story mode to just fuck around with, I was like, wow, this feels really good because you feel really powerful and you're
equally
not constantly thinking about
turning the difficulty down. It doesn't obviously it makes it easier, but it doesn't mean there's like elements of the game you don't have to engage with. Like you still got to be like doing your like precise counters and stuff. Like you can't just hold block and then just keep hitting them. Like you still got to like play the game properly, quote unquote. It's just a bit more forgiving.
You just don't get hurt as much when you get hit and stuff, and some of the attacks are sort of more muted. But and equally, people that are whacking it up to the hardest setting and trying to play like that, I totally get that as well. Because,
if you want to,
I think it could hold up. I was only playing the hardest I got was the Jedi Knight, the sort of default one. So God knows if it holds up on the harder difficulty settings, but it certainly felt right with a couple of difficulty spikes towards the end on the default.
Also,
mode.
really cool that as you're picking your difficulty setting, it shows you what each difficulty setting affects.
Yeah,
like
I thought that was a nice touch.
Yeah, in terms of like enemy damage, parry timing, stuff like that.
I
also really appreciate it. You could, unless you're in like a boss battle or in an actual like combat scenario, you can change at any point. I thought that was really, really, really well implemented.
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear what you think of this, James.
And he's gone.
James.
It's dead.
No, I'm sorry, I'm still here. I was on mute. I was on mute. Yeah,
you're playing Shenmue on iPad.
Yeah, I'm playing Shenmue on remote play.
When do we start finding him for that?
What?
When does that come into
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
It's about.
It's like every week now,
haven't
isn't
I?
it?
Like if I'm coughing or whatever, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, coughing
totally
though.
fine.
Or just
It means
you
you're
know
not.
what you should do?
In that case, I was not coughing, but I could have been. And if I
You
had
know what
been,
you should do though, James? Unmute it when we ask you a question.
yeah, but I can't do it that quickly because I have to.
Then don't mute it in the first place. Don't.
All right, okay. I'm not. I'll tell you what. I'm not going to mute it anymore, and you're just going to hear everything. That's what's going to happen
James,
now.
you shouldn't be playing games while we're recording a podcast.
I'm not playing games. I'm sitting here, but sometimes I want it on mute in case I make noises or something.
Okay.
Because we all know how that's gone down before.
Noises? Oh yeah, the farts.
Yeah, we're just going for 3 hours, James. You know what I mean? There's a middle ground.
It just pop. So that's Star Wars again. I'm sure there'll be discussions about that again at some point. But the only other game I've played this week is I went on the eStore and I was kind of like on the Switch and I was kind of like, well, I've got a shit ton of gold coins that I need to spend. What should I play? And half of me was interested in Greece, Gris or whatever it is.
Greece.
But then I saw Baba Is You, and I remember that was a 2019 game.
Baba.
That people were Baba Is You, yeah. I thought that this was really popular when it came out, so it might be worth playing it and seeing if it makes my list. It's okay. I'm not.
Oh, mate,
it's not blowing my
it's
mind.
well good.
It's okay.
It's like I'm too stupid to play most of it. But I think the idea behind it is just absolutely fascinating.
I think the idea behind it is fantastic, and I think for the large part of what I've played, it is totally hit those marks. I think when it does fall apart, though, there are certain rules that I've written out that I can't see why they wouldn't work.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And that really frustrates me a little bit. And sometimes it is kind of like, it feels like, I know it's way more logical than this, but sometimes it does feel like, what am I thinking? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Rather than I can see I look like looking at a puzzle game and then seeing the answer in my brain and then playing it out. It feels like there's a hell of a lot more trial and error in this, isn't it?
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah. There's a lot of like trying stuff out, things not working, and sorry, I'm literally just describing what trial and error is. But yeah,
yeah, and then like holding the reverse button.
Yeah, there's a lot of
reset
like
button and stuff.
Things you would think would work, and then you're like, no, right, shit, that's because of this, that, and the other. It's like when you try it out and you realise why it hasn't worked. It pretty much always made sense to me. But I know what you mean in terms of like having ideas that then turn out. Yeah.
Yes, that's it. No, I think the solution always makes sense. But I feel like some of the solutions, I can't see why that hasn't made sense in this instance, and that's been a bit frustrating. And the other thing that I've said this on the podcast a few times is with puzzle games, I hate it where you get into a situation where you can't progress, where you can't correct mistakes that you've made. And there's a lot of that in this. And I thought that maybe that wasn't possible because the first time you try and do a fresh reset, and in fact every time unless you turn it off, it goes, whoa. You sure? You want to go right from the beginning again? Are you fucking sure? And I was like, okay, maybe I don't. Maybe I can get out of this mess that I've created out of all these words and shit. But it doesn't really do that, does it? The only time it does that is when you remove Bubba or is or you.
Yeah. So like when you lose control
that, then
of the character,
goes, it goes, you're fucked. Yeah. And then you go, okay, right, I'm fucked. But like in this, it's like I can go for half an hour trying to work out a puzzle by testing stuff. And then when I work out the actual solution, I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, what a waste of time. Like I wish it had just given me the heads up that I'd fucked it like ages ago. But yeah, I mean, I really like it in some regards, but I don't love it because of those, the sort of golden rules that I have for me when it comes to puzzle games. I'm not saying that they apply to everyone, but it breaks quite a few of those golden rules. And look, I mean, I've said it a lot, but that Scribblenauts does it in a bit worse, way worse way. Yeah. But Scribblenauts people adored, and it broke one of my rules. Like, this should work, but it doesn't work. People going, yeah, but there's so many different solutions that it doesn't matter. No, this should work. Like, it really fucks me off that this doesn't work, and it's really destroyed any sort of interest I've got in this game now. That's not to this level on this one, but Harry's weirdly addicted to it.
Really?
Yeah, he's always asking me to put it on. I think he just likes reading the rules out. Okay. Like, he just likes saying the rules out loud, like, water is stop, Daddy. Key is open. Like he keeps doing it. But yeah, so we've sort of been playing it together and trying to work it all out and stuff. It's been quite fun. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be anywhere near my list this year, which is a shame.
That is.
Anything else, Matt? Have you got anything else on your list?
No, I'm up against Genichiro on Sekiro, and I haven't beaten him yet. But I would.
Mate, that stream last week was hard to watch.
Yeah, I did 2 in a week. I did Sunday, and then obviously because I was away this weekend, so I did one in the week on Tuesday. And I really thought from the Sunday one previously, I'm like, I had a few goes against him then. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get it done on that Tuesday.
Did you tweet, I'm going to do him tonight or something?
Well, I always do it anyway. Just positive mental attitude is important. But no, I did not do it. And then I got to the third phase like 3 or 4 times, but just that phase is over so quickly. Even though I had at one point I had 3 hills, 3 gourds, 3 healing gourds. I still just fucked it completely. So I'm gonna get it done, but yeah, it's a toughie. But it's a fantastic fight. It's really fantastic. I'm loving the fight, but haven't quite done it yet. I'm still struggling, but I will get there.
The adrenaline running through you during that stream was fucking off the charts. the adrenaline. I've had one beer and running through, like when you turn around and went, okay, he's only hit me once. He only hit me once. And then the moment you finish that sentence, he smashes you in the head, and you go,
Yeah.
idiot.
Yeah. There's a lot of like shouting at myself and stuff. But yeah, I'm still loving the game. I'm just struggling, but not frustrated yet. I'll get back to it this Sunday for more action.
Cool. And that's it, right? That's all the games we got on our list.
Yeah, I mean, I've been away since Thursday, so I managed to get Fallen Order done beforehand, and now I'm excited to get back to Death Stranding.
Talking about Shenna's next week for me. But
Yeah, I think I might say
then
I think
I
I need to
played
get Death
this-
Stranding done, and then I'll get on to Shenmue. But I've started Death Stranding, so I want to see it out to the end.
sorry, James.
The only other thing I played was Night Trap. Last
Oh
week.
yeah, I missed
But,
that because
yeah.
I had to go to sleep. But how was it in the end?
It's not bad actually. I quite enjoy playing it. It's a mess of. It's not even a game really, is it? To be honest. And I think
Not when you don't know how the rules work.
well because it didn't explain. There's like no explanation whatsoever.
I know. It was really weird. Like I was watching it. Like obviously there's something we're not getting here, but fuck me if I know what it is. Like it was a bit of nonsense, wasn't it? The whole changing the code thing.
Yeah.
Just not really explained at all, is it?
No, and it's really weird because it's like you have to be listening. You have to be listening to the dialogue that's going on, like so that you can pick up on the plot and the story, and also the code changes that are going on.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you got those creepy things like attacking the house constantly, so you have to keep changing cameras.
Yeah.
So you miss everything constantly. I mean, I've heard that the only way that you can actually finish it is with a guide, so I probably am going to do that.
Oh, fair enough. I
It's
did
good to sit there and
enjoy
do that.
that. There were several points, and we need to clip it really. Just like several points where you're just watching like a woman get abducted and then just completely dispassionately just fucking change the channel to something else. Just it's just like
So, if you know what you're doing, how long is this game supposed to like
About
take?
30 minutes.
Oh,
It's
right,
very
wow,
short.
okay.
I was going to say, because it can only fit so much footage on the disc,
On
I
a
guess.
CD.
Yeah.
It's,
So I mean, I haven't watched the stream yet, but are you? What are the next one? Are you going? Do you start again? How does it work?
every time you go through it, you have to start again. I mean,
okay, right.
it's quite funny because I mean the opening cinematic is brilliant. I loved it. Like the acting is so funny. Like really, really, really funny. And yeah, that was. And I was hoping there was going to be more stuff like that in it. And it's got the Night Trap song, but after you've heard that like 3 times, it gets quite tiresome. You know, it's like I don't want to hear that again. But no, definitely going to go through it, and I'm going to probably with a guide or whatever, so I can finish it and then move on to something else. 'Cause it's fun diversion though. It was better than Detroit, but yeah.
I was going to say, definitely a good choice for streaming. Like, it was proper good fun to watch. I don't think you'd play it if you weren't streaming it, right?
No, I don't think so. No. It's-
So do you think you'll get it done on Friday?
yeah, I think so. If I use a guide, definitely. I don't think it'll be impossible.
Sean, have you still not played Luigi's a fucking Pussy 3?
No, I haven't. I've got it now. It turned up later. I say turned up. I've borrowed it from a friend of the show, Chris Spann. But yeah, so I've got it. I just not had a chance to play it yet.
Okay, good.
Finishing bloody Star Wars.
Jesus, I'm still playing it.
Yeah.
I'm still running through getting the collectibles. Oh, fuck me. Good game. Right, okay, let's get on to emails.
Yeah. If you want to email us, podcast@thecomputergameshow.com. Lucas Skew says, with Stadia basically dead on arrival, it's a bit harsh, I was wondering how streaming could be resurrected. Off the back of the Half-Life Alyx reveal and how everyone was disappointed it was a VR title, it made me think about how companies like Valve could bring VR to the mainstream. One of the many issues with Stadia is that the audience it's targeting will probably already own a gaming machine. The premium VR experience, however, is currently an exclusive club for those with not just a VR device but a beefy PC to back it up. What if you didn't need to own the £1,000 plus computer? What if companies like Valve or Google could stream quality VR titles? What?
You do.
Oh, okay.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Go on. Sorry,
what if companies like
finish
Valve or Google could stream quality VR titles and all you need was the VR kit? Amazon Prime can stream TV or movies to mobile VR kits, so why not have Valve stream AAA titles like Half-Life to a standalone VR kit? Because it wouldn't work, is the short answer.
The thing is, right, latency in terms of a video game can be quite bad even when it's minuscule. the slightest latency on a VR headset
gonna be
would fucking destroy you.
And like,
there can be no latency, can there? It needs to be almost, you know,
and like,
one to
and that's
one
completely
lines.
different to like, you know, so yeah, streaming TV or movies to a VR headset is completely different because that's just like a video file that then the headset is presenting in a certain way, and all the processing of the movement and everything is being done locally, which is completely different to having to like transmit all that movement information to a server and then back. Yeah, so wouldn't work, sadly. Although it says PS.
We're
Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, we're a long way from that, but that's one way to do it, potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, never say never, but
No,
like,
it will happen at
is-
some point, for sure. I mean, like, the technology will
I mean,
catch up.
how do they get latency? Surely there's got to be a point where it is physically impossible.
Yeah. I mean,
Well,
well,
they
we're
said that
already
about
there.
loads of things. I'm sure there will, in the future, there will be technology where this isn't the thing. That it just will. But we're
Future
a
won't
long,
even
long
have
way.
bodies. It's fine.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I'm
we're a long
talking
way.
about
on.
actual physics. Like, I'm talking about actual physics. Like a server farm. If there was a server farm in your house, you'd be all right. If it was like 2 miles away.
Just the speed that electricity moves is only so.
I mean, that's how it works, right? You press a button, a bit of electricity bolts down to Manchester. It bolts it back onto your telly, and the telly goes, "There's the electricity, mate. Here's your game."
It will happen. It will happen. It's just that that's a future technology thing, I imagine.
It says PS got all the faith in Matt to beat Genichiro on Sunday.
Thank you, Luke. I need all that faith.
Right, James Turner says, I was wondering if you guys can give me a recommendation. I'm considering upgrading either my launch PS4 or my Xbox One S to either a Pro or an X, but I worry that with the next-gen machines definitely being released next year, the X and Pro will be obsolete. Is the increase in performance worth shelling out for at this point? And if so, if I was to get one, which one should I buy?
I mean, surely this
mate,
depends.
I haven't got an answer.
If you've got a 4K TV, then yeah, probably maybe it is. But if you haven't, I wouldn't bother.
Yeah. I mean,
stage.
I've got...
Oh, totally. Yeah, but if you have got a 4K TV, right, I would say the one you upgrade, which one do you play more of now? That's the one you upgrade, right? Because they're the ones that you've got more games for, probably. You've got an online community for, maybe. But the one that you use most now, that's the one you should upgrade. Maybe not a PS4 Pro, though, because the jump from a PS4 to a PS4 Pro isn't big, is it? If you're like... The only way I would actually sort of say you need to upgrade it is if you've got that Xbox One S and you use your Xbox all the time.
No.
I mean,
Then maybe an X is a good way to go.
I think maybe part of the reason for that is because the original Xbox was such a shit machine, wasn't it? And like the One X.
Yeah, the original one was shit, but he's got an S, which is an improvement.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, upgrading the X is a fucking brilliant console. It just is.
Yeah, I love my X. I mean, but I would say personally, I would wait. But then that's just me. I think
that's the other thing, isn't it?
You've got a PS4 and you've got an Xbox One. Yes, you'll have improvements by getting the Pro or the X. But personally, there's consoles to come out next year. They're both going to be, I would say, around £500. I personally think let's just get saving now.
Saving
and
money,
you'll be there for day
I've
one.
got such a weird, fucked up view on money as well, though, because like I'm kind of like, yeah, all right, I could save it I could take that £300 that I'd spend on an Xbox One X, but save it for their next console next year. But there's no way I'm putting £300 aside for nearly a year. That's
It'll go on
not happening, is
something
it?
else.
Yeah, it will go on fucking groceries or the car or something. I've got it now. I'll spend it.
Well, if you like that,
Which
then
is why
I'm
so
fairly
poor.
sure you can sort of pre-order these consoles on like Shop 2 and like prepay it. Just do something, whatever it takes to get out.
What?
On like Shop 2, I'm sure you can definitely prepay for pre-orders.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, but not a next Xbox.
Yeah, not something you're not
Maybe,
going to get
who
until
knows?
next year, I guess. But
I don't think they've got the next Xbox on Shop 2 yet, have they?
I wouldn't be surprised, but who knows? But anyway, regardless, I personally,
Google it.
I would say wait, but who knows?
Yeah.
You do you.
Paul,
What a non-committal answer.
I gave you my answer.
it's your money, innit?
No, I'm talking from all of us. What he's done, he said, can you give me advice on what I should do? Should I do this or that? Do you want?
I think broadly
Right,
we're
if
saying
you've got-
don't
it
bother,
depends
right?
on the TV.
I think we're saying, if you've got the willpower to just stash the money and until this time next year, then wait. I think is the advice.
So £1,000 of consoles coming out next year. Let's get saving.
Yeah, mate. Paul Willits So I've been listening to the show for a while now on my long daily commute here in Perth, Australia. And as most men of a certain age with children, brackets grandchildren in fact, I find it difficult to find the time for gaming. Last Friday, I messaged my boss pretending to be crook. That is probably a phrase I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean, like ill.
Yeah. It's actually highlighted it as a grammatical error in Google Docs.
It's not a code though, Sean. You could have worked that one out, surely.
So
Have you never watched Neighbours, Sean? Or Home and Away?
Rack off, bouncer.
Names, guys. Fuck home and away. Man.
There's a possum in my ute.
Right, okay, he's
Too
definitely
far.
turned off now.
I also let my wife carry on to work without telling her I was having a sneaky day off. Anyway, I played Darkest Dungeon on PC for 9 quality hours with no disturbance, ordered takeaway pizza just for myself, and sat there thinking, is this the best day ever?
Oh, that does sound amazing.
Yeah, that's up there.
It certainly felt like it for me. Now I know what it feels like to be Ferris Bueller for the day. What lengths have you guys gone to for quality gaming time, and what lies did you have to tell? Keep up the good work. Cheers, Paul.
No lies.
No.
No lies, really. The only thing I lie about sometimes is that, what time did you come to bed last night?
Oh, God, yeah, me too.
Midnight. Definitely
Yeah.
midnight.
Also, sometimes if I like going to bed really late and like Jill's like, oh, what time is it? I'm like, oh, it's 10 to 12.
Yeah, it's only.
And I'm like, do not check your phone. It's 1:30. Do not check your phone. So, it's 10 to 12. Can you go to sleep? I'm just getting into bed before midnight, definitely.
Yeah, I'll sometimes just.
I do this, though.
Sorry.
Sorry,
I was just going to say, I'll sometimes just be like, it's a bit late, but yeah, don't worry about it. 2 a.m.
I do this because, sometimes Joel will go, I'm going out on Saturday. Do you want to invite anyone over? And I'm like, no.
Absolutely not.
You should know. Invite your brother over. I'm just gonna order takeaway and play a video game.
I can have Domino's to
all night.
myself.
This
Play a
sounds
game in my
brilliant.
pants.
It's
Brilliant.
almost like it feels like you've stolen that time, doesn't it? Like you've just created time out of nowhere.
It is
like
such a
it
gift, isn't it?
just exists in a little bubble for a bit, and it's great.
It's like
It's
is
the good
like
shit.
any time that you haven't got anything to do, it feels like you've won the lottery.
Yeah,
And it's brilliant. Yeah.
I mean, personally, I feel like I've won the lottery every time I see my child's smiling face, James. But
Oh, shut up, you twat!
Dad of the year.
no, he's been a right arsehole this evening, actually. But let's not get into that. He's ill. He's ill.
But selfish.
Yeah.
Go on.
Right, Rezapok says, hey everyone. I just want to say I'm a long-time listener and a fan of Sean and Dave's shows. Not an interface fan, I guess.
Fucking hell. Delete this email.
With the release of Shenmue 3 this week, I was wondering what other story-based games you'd love to see a long overdue continuation of. My pick would be Alpha Protocol, as its Mass Effect meets spy thriller story and some real standout characters and moments that would definitely benefit from a more refined and polished and now overdue follow-up. That's a good shout.
Okay, Mass Effect would have been mine, right? But
Yeah, I'd love to go back to that.
sure, what do they do? Like, what do they do?
What do you mean?
Right, okay, they announced a Mass Effect, right? EA go, next year, Mass Effect's coming back.
I mean, it's happening.
What do we
They
want?
said
Yeah,
recently.
Yeah,
so
but
no
what do
one
they
wants
do?
Andromeda 2, even though that's set up for a sequel, but yeah, whatever.
You can't base it on the original trilogy because of the way that ended. And started, really. It was... So what do they do? Like, what?
The first contact war with the Turians. There you go. And you can be the guy who like brokers peace.
Nah.
I think
That does not appeal to me at all.
What, just because it make the Turians the baddies?
No, because it's just, I don't know. It's like that was a conflict between two. Like Mass Effect was great because it felt like you were in the middle of a complete warring galaxy, right? But you were trying to fight an outside enemy that was threatening the whole galaxy, and that's what made it so interesting. Whereas if you go to a war, it simplifies it all. And it's
I know what you mean, because the intricacy of Mass Effect was, as you say, the enemy was external and kind of everyone sort of knew they had to pull together to deal with it, but actually they all had their own little, politics and issues and stuff, and you were kind of sort of trying to pick your way through that. Whereas, if it's just we're at war with the Turians, full stop, that's not as interesting.
Yeah, it's not as interesting. I kind of like the idea that it's set like a million years in the future, but you're still seeing the effects of the events from the original trilogy.
Someone didn't replay it. I mean, would a prequel not work in some regards?
Well, that's what I'm suggesting. Yeah, but,
that's what Sean's suggesting. But I kind of don't think it should do that because that takes the mystery of where it's going out of the equation.
Because you know the war ends. So
yeah. I kind of like the idea that the events that take place in the original trilogy have lifelong effects, don't they?
Yeah.
I suppose it depends on what you sort of chose towards the end, but
see. What they did with Andromeda was a really good idea.
Oh yeah,
like, the setup for it was
just
a brilliant
wasn't a
idea.
very good idea.
Game.
Yeah,
it just wasn't the best game. Yeah.
There's still a lot
so
of
what
things.
they did with Andromeda,
Still a lot of things I liked about Andromeda. It was just it went through hell to get released, didn't it? You can tell.
Yeah, same here.
Shame.
What they did with Andromeda, Matt, was essentially it was set while these whole world-changing events were happening.
Oh yeah.
In Mass Effect.
Well, it was before and after, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it was. Yeah, so before the events happened, there was this group of colonies and stuff. They were looking for a new place to live, and so they went to a completely different galaxy. So all the races were still there, but they were all sent on arcs to go and discover new life in a different galaxy. And then obviously by the time they've woken up, everything's gone down, but they're totally blissfully unaware of it all.
It was a good idea.
It was a really good idea. It was a really good idea, but. Shame about the game.
That's
Matt, have you got an answer?
What else? Too Human never got the closure it deserved. That was supposed to be a trilogy. Never even got the second one.
Okay,
you're the only one beating that drum. I mean, Legacy of Kain we talked about earlier. That's
because that ended on a big cliffhanger. Like that ended on like Raziel. No one gives a shit. I'm not going to get into that. But yeah, that ended on a massive cliffhanger that was then suggesting there was going to be like a whole other load of shit going on. And even Legacy of Kain Dead Son, the one I mentioned, that from what I've heard, that wasn't actually going to follow on the main story in any way anyway. So that's weird.
Devil's Third.
Yeah, mate. I never even got to the end of that.
I got to the end of it. I can't remember. To be honest with you, Sean, I don't remember.
We mentioned it before. We mentioned it again. Prince of Persia, massive reboot, big single player, set piece heavy experience.
What was the hook on the story for that?
What do you mean?
Like, what period was it set?
Well, it's sort of not really in. I don't know.
It's fantasy again, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's like
obviously it's set in Persia,
yeah.
but it's other than that, it's incredibly vague. Olden times when that was set.
Yeah, olden times.
Yeah,
I love to see like where the Assassin's Creed story goes next. That's what I want, and it's a shame they should bring that back.
The overarching sort of modern day stuff.
No, I'm taking the piss, Sean. How did you not pick up?
Well, I don't know. A lot of people really like that stuff, Dave. You never know.
Yeah,
all these people are just walking around like they're normal in real life, and you never know.
Yeah,
it's like Brexit voters.
But they're walking around normal in real life, but putting their hands on strangers as they pass them.
The link to the modern era was always a bit that I found most interesting. I hadn't even played them enough, but I was like, okay, well, that's an interesting idea. But haven't they just sort of to stop doing that stuff these days?
Yeah.
I mean, none of us know we don't play the games, and I was taking the piss
I'm pretty
because
sure
there's definitely going to be another Assassin's Creed.
Certainly by Black Flag, they basically binned that stuff. And it's just so weird, because obviously, the conversation for like the first 3 or 4 Assassin's Creed games was always like, oh yeah, because you always play as this guy in like modern day, and obviously the whole thing is that as he's remembering all these things that his ancestor did, he's like picking up all the assassin techers. And then surely they're going to do a modern day one, and then they just never.
She's like
techers, mate.
Yeah, what do you mean
in the
by
football
that?
now?
He's playing football. He's playing FIFA. Boys play FIFA.
And everyone was like, surely this is going to culminate in like one set in modern day, and it's just never.
Yeah. Fully
and then Desmond ended up fucking dead, didn't he? Spoilers.
They did start doing, like, in the games, they did start doing more stuff that was, like, in modern world stuff, but they never went very far with it at all. Yeah. It was always, like, very, very limited.
Wasn't the rumour that at one point it was just going to be Watch Dogs? Like, you walk out of the office.
Well, yeah, apparently it's in the same
Dogs.
universe, but...
Yeah. Okay, cool.
That's it for emails.
Tweets. It's at Computer Game Pod if you want to tweet us. Andy Godwin, if you were Sony, what would you do to PlayStation Plus to counter the awesome Xbox Ultimate Game Pass, particularly with next gen in mind? Bonus question, would Nintendo do something similar for the Switch crowd? I mean, I guess the obvious answer for me is the PlayStation Plus. I don't really care about it anymore, but just integrate PlayStation Now with whatever. Well, with PS Plus as in the subscription, rather than like the PlayStation Plus like 3 games per month.
Yeah.
So that's
They should
just
absolutely do that.
Well,
And they
just-
should just
yeah.
dump the free games.
And
'cause
put
no one cares
new
anymore.
Yeah,
good
but that's not
exclusives
what
on it.
Microsoft
That's the
does.
main thing. It's like,
That's not what Microsoft does, though, is it? It's Microsoft. You got the choice,
yeah.
and technically, you got the choice for PlayStation as well. So it's not like if Sony turned around and said, "We're copying Microsoft. You get PlayStation Now and PS Plus for this price," I wouldn't be interested. I'd still just pay for my PS Plus.
But surely
Yeah,
the
is
main
that-
difference is
am I
that
lying
Game
there?
Pass has actually has new exclusive stuff
Launches
in it.
games
yeah,
on it
yeah,
and stuff.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Like,
Sony would never
that's-
do that.
Like if
The big
Sony were just like,
difference
oh,
is
by
that-
the way, the next Naughty Dog and From Software game is going to be on PS Now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you'd be interested.
See, but they're never going to do that
No.
unless they have a
No.
horrendous PS5 launch.
Yeah.
Like unless it goes really badly,
Yeah.
they're not going to do that because they've said
I
they
think,
don't need
they
to.
might end up regretting that, though.
Maybe we'll see.
I mean, in terms of Nintendo, Nintendo really don't like devaluing things, so I don't think we'll ever see
No.
something
They
like this.
don't.
I think that basically what we've got now with the online sub getting you the retro stuff is about as generous
good
as they're
it's
going to
gonna
get. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to get any
And
better.
I
than that.
also think that they like the idea of having xCloud on that Switch,
Yeah.
which was the rumours when it was first
Yeah, yeah,
announced. And I think that is but I think that benefits them a hell of a lot.
For sure.
The thing with
Hey,
Sony,
you want to play all your Xbox games on the move? Like,
do you actually see it
then-
happening though? That was obviously a rumor, but
Yes, I do.
you do.
I do see that happening. I do.
It would be
I
amazing.
don't think they're in competition in terms of the games that Microsoft develop and sell. And I think they are offering a console where you can play high-end, good-looking Xbox games
I mean,
as well as
this sounds like a
the
bet.
wicked Mario stuff.
Does sound
See,
a bit
I'm
like
Trying to
I'm
work
not
out a
convinced.
timescale.
I'm still not convinced it's going to happen. Like not anytime soon. Anyway, not in the next
No,
couple
I
of
don't
years.
think it'll be anytime soon, but I'd be
But
surprised.
do you think it will happen someday?
I think so, yeah.
And
Yeah,
you don't, James?
I do.
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure because I don't know. Because you see, the thing is, I would have thought that it was probably more likely when Nintendo weren't doing very well, but now they're doing quite well, and I don't see why they feel they need to do this.
Yeah.
And it's like putting it on there. You are still taking people away from buying games on your platform. It's
I think that's a fair comment, yeah. I think that's fair.
But they could also be saying
Um,
making 30% of every subscription.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, if they do
every
something-
sub
if
that's
they
been
do it-
activated on
if they
that.
do a deal with Microsoft like that, then maybe, yeah. But it depends what they do.
I think they could both. I think it'd be a good idea if they did.
Mm-hmm.
I think they could both earn a lot of money out of it.
It'd be good also for next generation if Nintendo are not very keen on releasing like new Switch hardware. They don't need to, do they? With this, in that case, because they could just if it's streaming through an app or whatever, like the more high
It'd be
end
very
stuff.
confused messaging, though. Very confused. So I
What's that?
don't see it happening because I don't know. I don't see it happening. I think it'd be too confusing as a message. Yes, I mean like it's awesome that we've
what's
got like
confusing?
well because like how much will they really promote this service? How much will Microsoft really promote the service given it's on like a rival platform? It's like it's not.
As I said, Microsoft seem less and less interested about selling hardware.
They do, but like the promotion aspect. like,
Nintendo wouldn't promote it. Microsoft would be promoting it, but they'd be promoting it available on Switch. And Nintendo then get the benefit of more advertising for their console. But Microsoft seem less and less interested about selling their consoles. And when we were talking about where they're going with xCloud and stuff, that just plays into it. I think it works for both.
I
of them.
completely agree with you though, because I think for them it's all about software and services. That's all they care about. And ultimately,
and Nintendo are very hardware based, and they've the Nintendo have got Nintendo games, and that is not to be you can't turn your nose up at that shit.
But I think with xCloud working on phones, I think they might have like gone around that now, and they can just promote
still
the
a
service
bit of a
on
pain,
whatever
though,
platform
isn't
you're
it?
in.
It's still a bit of a pain in the arse because you need one of them fucking claws to, to comfortably sit holding a controller and the phone. Whereas,
and phone screens are not exactly perfect for playing games on.
But to counter that, those claw things are £8, and phone screens are way better than a Switch screen. And the
they're
Switch
smaller,
needs to have-
though. I know they're higher res. But
they're smaller. They're high res, but they're smaller. They come in these thin, things. You get notifications when someone rings you.
Yeah.
Like you have to. It stops your game.
It's not the ultimate
The
experience,
notch.
but yeah.
the fucking notch on most of these motherfuckers. I'd rather have the dedicated gaming device. Like, I mean, for example, say xCloud was on the Switch.
Yep.
Yeah. Forgetting the Wi-Fi issues and connection stuff, right? What would you prefer to play it on? Your Switch or your phone?
Oh yeah, I mean,
with a controller?
obviously Switch, yeah, obviously.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So it's, I don't know. I think it could work out. I really do. I really do like the pairing between. I mean, we've said it for ages. I wish that they would pair up.
yeah,
Like two of these, like one where either Sony and Nintendo or Microsoft and Nintendo, because it does feel, yes, they are in competition to some respect, but it does feel that if they merged or some shit, then fuck me. Imagine that.
That wouldn't be good though. I wouldn't like that because it's
No,
like
I wouldn't like it. No, I wouldn't like it. But this sort of halfway house idea is not a terrible idea, right?
I mean, I just think it's
Because
good
that's-
when you've got like a bunch of companies because then it's like more competition in it, and it should get better. I mean, we've got Game Pass because of the fact that Microsoft fucked up really badly.
Yeah.
And all that.
You're absolutely right. Yeah. But I just kind of think this sort of halfway house of Nintendo allowing the streaming service on their hardware and owning a console that I can switch between the quality of Nintendo games that feel so different from everything else, and then switching over to playing on the xCloud on that same console is fucking exciting.
yeah. And it's like you say, like if Nintendo is sitting there saying, well, we don't want to have to build a streaming platform, Microsoft is saying, well, we don't want to have to build a portable gaming device, then surely neither of them are losing by teaming up.
Match made
So,
in
yeah.
heaven. It's definitely not going to happen now. We've all
No,
said
yeah, we've
this,
bigged it
but,
up too much. Never mind.
With regards to the actual question itself, about what could what will Sony do? I mean, they're not going to say every first party title is here on day one on PlayStation Now, but
Yeah.
maybe like a halfway house like that would be. They say, okay, there will be an exclusive game that one of our main studios has developed, and it's going to be out on PlayStation Now first, or
Yeah,
only.
That would help.
Yeah, like
That would help.
They could do that. I'm not sure who, but yeah,
That's kind of what you're saying, though. Like, I mean, yeah, exclusive games that launch on that service is an
Yeah.
appeal.
Yeah.
Whether they put all of their games on, like Microsoft do or not, obviously they're going to be behind in that regard.
Well, I mean, they've started doing like older stuff they've put on there, like they put God of War on there and like
Yeah,
a bunch of other
GTA.
stuff. And but again, that's not even like permanent either. They're all just like, oh, that's going to be on there for a bit, and then. Mind you, but
And it's a 2018 game.
But Game Pass is like that though as well, isn't it? Like they take stuff off there as well.
They do,
Although
yeah.
I imagine the Microsoft stuff's probably not going anywhere, is it? That will always be on
yeah.
there.
Nah.
I think, yeah.
For you to exercise that, for you to exercise on Twitter. Other than the usual increase in visuals, what would you like to be improved in games for the next generation? Looks like loading speed will be one. Now, like this question, I think we've had it before, but what I wanted to talk about is the fact that when I think about what do I want for the next generation, it's like, yes, faster, better graphics, etc. And I'm like, are we getting to the point like mobile phones where it's just going to be iterative? Obviously, innovations will happen. Things we can't see coming, and we're like, how do we live without this? When it eventually happens. But I don't know. It feels like I can't think of many more things. Like, okay, what do you want in a new iPhone? Well, better camera, better battery, better screen. It's like with consoles, maybe there's so many things that we just can't see coming in the future that will be incredible innovations to happen. But right now, it's just faster, better graphics.
Who would have thought that the games, like, people were saying, this generation just feels like a slightly better last generation. Look at the games we were playing back then, look at the games we're playing now, it's totally different. It's totally different. You look at the Fortnites and, the games of a service stuff has been the biggest revolution of this generation.
Yeah, but
and
it's
it's changed the game in a big way.
That's true, but that's not as a result of like hardware or anything like that, is it? That's just
Yeah, they could have happened anyway.
It doesn't necessarily need to be. Well, I don't know.
No, it's a result of internet maturity. It's like internet services being what they are,
Yeah.
and games have sort of evolved alongside that.
I mean, they could probably
but
get
no,
Fortnite running on a 360. Like, I wouldn't be surprised.
Definitely.
That's fine, but that's the way that the generation has evolved, though, right? Like, you can't say, that doesn't count because you could have done that on the last gen.
Well, no, I think
I
because
wouldn't-
what he's saying there is he's saying like okay, you get like increasing visuals and like what he says. What would you like to be improved in games with this next generation? What has been improved since the last generation? Like we've had games as a service. That's been a thing. Is that an
I was
improvement?
going to say arguably not an improvement, but yeah.
Because I'm not saying that is an improvement. Yeah.
What's been an improvement? What's been the biggest improvement? I mean,
Well, there are probably a lot of things we can't see. I mean, like every time there's a new generation, they say, well, you know what? The visuals are amazing now. We don't need to improve them. What we're now going to improve upon is AI and systems.
Yeah.
But, that happens. But then also, like, they do improve the graphics and we still have, like, frame drops we might have had 2 or 3 generations ago because they are still trying to push that stuff. But, Amazon, no, this is a generation where they really are just going to focus on AI and do all these amazing things. I'm sure that stuff has been happening. Look at how complex games are and what the systems they have now compared to last generation. That's happened, but that's sort of unseen in many regards.
It's been the power of the cloud as well. As that happened. Because that was...
Yeah, I mean, because you could argue, well, you could play online games on the original Xbox, and the biggest revolution of the last gen, 360 PS3, was online gaming, right?
I mean, I'd say...
and that was more of an evolution from the generation before. So
I'd say that one of the biggest changes there's been this generation has been streaming, and the fact that it is so easy to stream from most of the consoles apart from the Switch. That's been...
Yes, it has, but that hasn't affected everyone that plays games in the way that online gaming has.
No, maybe not, but you can still...
affected, yeah.
There's still more...
Over the past 10 years.
There's still, it's created, a lot of content has obviously come out of that, and people, even just simple stuff like sharing screenshots and all that kind of thing, that's been a big deal this generation, compared with before.
Yeah.
The integration of social and streaming is massive, and I can't wait to see it being way more closely integrated. Because obviously, this generation it feels like it's sort of been tacked on, like apps here and this and that and other. But them knowing, that streaming and social is key. If we baked into the system from day one, maybe the hardware will have benefits related to that, but just more integration with the OS rather than tacking it on and adding bits. I mean, for me personally, the thing I want to see more than ever is way better OS from both of them.
Absolutely.
Xbox is
definitely
slow, and I mean, we've said this before. It's way better on the X. It's actually usable now, but it still just doesn't feel great. I actually like the PS4. It's really, really basic, but at least it gets me to where I need to go very quickly. But also, I feel like they could do a lot more.
Setting up parties on that thing's a fucking nightmare. What I will say though is that you can't underestimate getting you into games quicker in the next gen, because that's what needs to happen. I mean, the Switch shows how suspended gaming should be done, because it doesn't work like that on a PS4 and Xbox One. I don't know if you guys get it, where you turn your console on and you're going, now, when I launch this game, is it gonna be alright?
Well, the trouble is,
so
many games are online now.
What happens?
Is that you've logged out of servers, aren't you?
Oh, yeah.
Logged out of servers, you'll have... This needs an update, that sort of stuff. It's a bit frustrating.
The updates thing is definitely something that I hope they're going to improve in the next generation.
Is that not what Sony confirmed? They said, in terms of updates, they said, now you can download just the sections of a game you want, so just single player, just multiplayer. But Apple said this a few years ago.
Pan out, will it?
Yeah,
no, but
well, they tried to do it this gen, didn't they? But
Apple said a few years ago they're going to do Delta updates, which are basically just update smaller part of apps rather than you having to download 2 gig
the whole game.
A Fortnite update. That still happens now. But I would like much smaller download updates rather than I mean, I've got
why can't it update and then suspend the game, update it, and then put you right back to where you were? So when the update does happen while you're out, you can come back and it's updated, but you're still in the game.
Because it might have changed things that are currently being accessed by the game.
Which is fine, but then surely there's a way to, maybe there isn't, but part of me just thinks, okay, remember exactly where I was, take a little short save of that, and then reboot the game and put me back in that spot.
Yeah, but it's an extreme example, but what if the bit of the game you're in gets patched out?
Well, yeah. I mean, you're right, but then there's got to be. What I'm saying
you
is
want it to be like save states, don't you? Where it's like
get back into games quicker, because the Switch does that brilliantly. You turn it on, you're in the game. Boom.
Yeah, it's like 15 seconds and you're in the
PS4, there can sometimes be messages. I mean, Fallen Order was fucking shit for suspended gameplay. For some reason, it would just like go.
And the loading as well was bad, isn't it?
Hasn't done it this time. Yeah, loading was terrible. But like, my heart was pounding every time I turned my Xbox on just to see if it remembered it this time.
So I didn't have any problems with Fallen Order. To be fair, there was one patch that I had to restart for, but other than that, I didn't close the game throughout my entire playthrough.
Okay. One thing I would like is more than one game being able to be suspended.
That'd be cool.
How good would it be? Rather than like, okay, I can if one game I'm playing, when I played another game that has to be closed. If I can have like 5 or 10 or as many as I want in,
I mean, I
suspended, that'd be amazing.
I presume that's impossible because it just means way too much stuff has to be held in memory. But yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, with with new SSDs, with new because I'm sure using like NVMe,
finding new ways of doing it.
I'm sure that will happen. I'm sure, and that will be a big innovation that I'd love to see. More games. So just like when you've got apps on your phone, every app is in the background still alive. You don't have to reopen every app. You don't have to restart it.
Yeah.
So that I basically want.
Yeah.
I was thinking back to when we genuinely did this. We had to design something in school once. And I chose to design a new controller. And
I also did that.
Some of those ideas, some of those ideas I'd like to see adopted, like the straw that comes out the top that feeds Coca-Cola into you, the fingerprint readers where if someone picks it up and it's not got your fingerprints, then spikes come out the side.
Definitely.
All that stuff. Get that in there.
I mean, the thing is, whatever we suggest, and obviously some of these things will happen, but whatever power is given to developers, they are going to lean towards putting it towards visuals, right? Because that's what gets people's attention.
That's the first thing people see.
So
that's
so we'll get games that look better, but they'll still have occasionally shitty frame rates or whatever, because that's just that is just a choice that developers make.
Sucks.
So yeah.
Yeah, I love every generation. This generation, there will be locked to 60, it'll be 4K because we've got the power now. No, you're obviously going to still push it. That's
what they did that with a fucking Pro. Would you remember the Pro? They were like, 60 frames per second, this is the target or what? And you're just like, it's not though, is it? Like, I mean, I fell into it a little bit thinking, a console that can just there's no more frame dropping.
And now we've got games that are run okay on the Pro, but barely run on the original PS4, which is what we were guaranteed would never happen.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I really think the SSD thing is going to make a big difference when this happens. I think it's going to be great for speed.
But then you can imagine me being a sometime PC gamer. It's not. It's I've had an SSD for years. It's not. It's not that exciting.
Yeah, it's true.
But,
that was mind blowing though when I added an SSD to my MacBook.
It's a game changer.
It was so fucking funny. I remember taking it into my office. A guy's also got a MacBook, and I pressed the on button, and he was just like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, no, you just press it on. It goes, doo, and then the login screen comes up."
Yeah, the amazing thing about that is so I put an SSD in my MacBook years ago, and it was oh wow, it's so good because it boots up in 5 seconds. But I realised I never turn this machine on, so I rarely see the benefit. But obviously with console, you will see the benefit every day because you are constantly turning it on and off. So that would argue make a much bigger impact on consoles than it has done on PCs because how often do you really turn laptops off? Anyway,
also tap with Coca-Cola.
Or that, and spikes. Spikes.
Get the spikes in
Samuel at Samantha Smith on Twitter. Looking to get my daughter a Switch, and a lot of places are also giving away a Labo set. Which Labo set would you recommend for a 7-year-old?
Variety
the first one, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably
that one. Totally. Yeah, I love it. They love it.
Sweet.
Don't expect to be playing it a month after you've bought it, right? Just come to terms with that fact. Putting it together is fucking brilliant. And you play with it for a little bit, really enjoy it for what it is, and then that's it. That's the experience you'll get with Labo. But, if you go into it knowing that, Joe's kind of Joe, when we chucked the cardboard out recently, and Joe was like, we paid, 70 quid for this. And I'm like, yeah, but we paid more for some of the plastic shit Harry's got in his bedroom that he spent 5 minutes on. You know what I mean? With 30 quid, I think it's well worth it.
I've still got that robot to build. It's got to happen one day.
Fucking hell, James! Happy birthday!
I've got that, and I've got the driving one as well. Never opened it. because that was on sale one time for like 25 quid.
Was it?
And,
In hindsight, what are your views on all the VR stuff they did?
it's all right. It's not great though. It's I'm not sure it was worth bothering, but you know.
Yeah. Also, James, is Rachel still enjoying Just Dance?
She is. Oh man, she had a sleepover this weekend, and her and three other girls. It was a nightmare. They like did dancing for about 4 hours. I think they were just like dancing to it. It was they were loving it. It was
fantastic. Yeah, I think I'm gonna get it for Elodie for Christmas. So I think she'll love it. It's also got Frozen 2 song, isn't it? So
that's just come out as well.
Yeah.
It wasn't when we first got it. It wasn't there, but now it is. So yeah.
Oh, cool. And you're playing on Switch, right? And it works.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, Switch.
Okay, MD Crew Buffs. Has the AAA, that is, online multiplayer game had its day? I'm just thinking like batteries. Has a AAA online multiplayer game had its day? Have the handful of free-to-play titles...
Wait. You were just thinking batteries. You don't call...
You still call them
AAA batteries AAA batteries,
No,
do
I
you?
don't, but I just read it. I'm very tired.
You see, I would say AAA, but then I would say AA rather than AA.
No, I say AA.
So actually,
AA
fewer
batteries.
syllables if you just say AA.
I was a double A.
Yeah, no, but you sound like a weirdo. AA batteries. Have you got any AA batteries?
Do you know, I'm kind of with Sean on this. I probably would say AA batteries, but I wouldn't say... And then I'd probably say AAA for like the other one. Yeah.
AA, AAA. No, I'd never say AA batteries. Have you got any AA batteries?
Although, to be fair, why do you need to ask? Just go where the batteries are.
I mean, if you want to be really cool, you can call them LR6s or whatever AAAs are called.
I wouldn't do that, Sean.
Don't sound well cool. That does not sound
do
cool.
you mean AA or AAA? Anyway, has the AAA online multiplayer game had its day? Have the handful of free-to-play titles stolen their lunch? I mean...
I saw that. I saw this email and I went, nope. There's still going to be... And then I was like, but when was the last one?
But this could be more
AAA
about
online multiplayer.
me and like my habits have changed. I mean, obviously Halo will come and it'll be great and stuff, but...
I mean, Call of Duty came out and did all right, didn't it?
Yeah, it's meant to be brilliant as well, yeah. So in that regard, yeah. But speaking personally, when was the last AAA?
You don't hear the buzz, do you, quite so much nowadays? Like with stuff
That might
like
just
this.
be us,
because
though.
we're older.
I was going to say, it might be us, yeah.
Pretty sure it's us.
But big free-to-play games like Fortnite and I guess like Warframe stuff, they're going to... More people are talking about them because more people are playing them because they're free. Obviously, things like M6 Siege and Black Ops 4 and other ones have their audiences, but it doesn't feel like, okay, here's a massive new AAA online multiplayer game. Everyone moves from one to the next. It feels like with games like Destiny and Fortnite, it's a much longer thing now, isn't it? So
yeah,
it's harder for people to move from one to the other.
Longer time,
and games of service, they sort of make you basically want to stay with one. You can't really play many of them, so it's not like, okay, we'll go to this game, then that game, then this game. Now this is my game, and I play Destiny or I play Fortnite. So it's very different these days.
I've got some breaking news, actually.
Oh, shit. Okay, here we go. I'm very excited.
Along the lines of this. Okay, so Battleborn is going offline forever in January 2021.
Whoa.
Yeah, this wasn't breaking. This happened.
To be fair, amazing that it persisted, but yeah, Jesus. That's a shame what happened to Battleborn.
Is it? Did you play it?
I played the beta, it was fucking rubbish, but it could have been good. It could have been good. Overwatch, but with a co-op campaign as well. What's not to like, apart from all the stuff that was wrong with it? But on paper, that could have been fine. It's a shame.
You're right, though. I just looked at the first comment. Just says, "I honestly thought this had been shut down well over a year ago."
But it's not going offline until 2021, right? I mean, that's ages.
Oh, I thought it was this January. So next.
No,
right,
okay. Next one.
Oh, right, okay. Well, that's fair enough.
Wow.
Plenty of warning, I guess.
That's weird.
You're going to get a few games in before it goes. You've got all next year.
Is that like when I threaten that I'm going to stop the show if we don't get enough patrons? Okay, next tweet.
Okay, Sick Squid at SickSquid_games. Esteemed cultural critics, given Captain Toss's professional background and sound, what is a game that each of you remember blowing you away in terms of sound design?
Oh god,
Battlefield.
Yeah,
Battlefield 3
Battlefield 3. But then that also
yeah, fucking incredible.
coincided with me getting my first sort of surround sound pair of headphones.
Nice.
But I think even before that, like, you know, the sound of Battlefield was always amazing. But getting my first set of decent like headphones was like a game changer, really.
James, what are you doing?
And
James, what are you doing?
Battlefront.
Oh, I'm just fucking around.
It's just highlighting the question in the. I'm really anxious you're going to delete it, even though it's the
I
one we're
was
reading
toying
out
with
now.
your idea, but you've already read it, so I can't.
Again, can we get a non-editing? Can we put him on non-editing?
Yeah, I'm going to have to change his permissions. This is
It's a
insane.
fucking nightmare every week. Read only. James, read only Farley. Yeah, I mean, Battlefield is the best answer. Battlefront, the first one on the new gen consoles. Battlefront 2, was it?
The what? Wait, Battlefront, the Star Wars one.
Yeah.
The Star Wars one. The first time I played that,
Battlefront.
I was like, I wasn't even into Star Wars at the time, but I was like, wow, this just sounds fucking cool. You know, with the music and the pew 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 and all that sort of stuff. And, oh, I'm your dad. All that shit was
Famous
fucking
quote.
great.
Battlefield has always been a major one. I think, so when I really sort of got into it around Bad Company and Bad Company 2, like, just the fact that you can be running around and the sound of bullets hitting things nearby, you're like, right, someone's shooting at me with like this weapon or this weapon. And, like, you just instinctively
It was
tell
that clack sound for me. It was the clack sound when someone's shooting from you from the other side of a river and you hear I was just, oh fuck this, man, this is horrible. I tell you what is really bad for sound. I've been playing FIFA again this week, mainly because there's a bunch of us that want to play pro clubs, which is still brilliant, by the way. Even as shit as that game is, like, it's still really good fun for like 5 mates getting together and controlling the same team. You know, it's great. The sound on that is fucking awful. Like, when you listen through headphones, you can really hear how it stitches the crowd together, like in a really obviously bad way, and it's really glitchy as well. Like, there's all sorts of weird sound glitches in that. You'd only really notice it with headphones.
I'm always impressed.
Yeah, but you also
sorry.
You get to hear about Alan McInally like every 5 seconds about what's.
he's everywhere, isn't he? I was playing one game. Alan McInally was in 14 different stadiums. Yeah. Now we're going over to Manchester. Alan McInally, what's the score? It's 2-1. Alan McInally's in Southampton. What was it? Alan McInally? How are you getting all over the place, mate?
I'm always fascinated by car sounds.
Sorry, Matt, can we call this one just the title of the show, Alan McInally?
Please do that, because that'd be great.
I was going to call it Streamcast, but I'll find Alan McInally is.
No.
Usurped.
Alan McInally.
Car sounds are fascinating to me because they're really difficult to get right, but a lot of developers do a really good job of it. Pretty much everything Codemasters have put out, for example, really nicely done. Because it's not just a case of like engine sound pitching up and down, right? There's all sorts of weird, complicated stuff going on, like depending on, like changing gears and stuff. So if the player suddenly hits the brake pedal or whatever, a lot of games now have like separate brake noises put in, which there's a really interesting thing. There's a podcast called 20,000 Hertz, which is all about sound design and stuff. They recently did an episode about car noises, and they talked to a guy who does recordings for films and games and stuff, and he just talks about how electric cars have been amazing because you can now put microphones like in all different bits of a car because the engine isn't really making any noise anymore. He's like, so I can get braking sounds that I never used to be able to get before. And I find that stuff like that. It's just fascinating how sort of granular it is and how many little component parts there are making that stuff up.
It could be more realistic, though.
Yeah.
Don't you think? Like, there's room for improvement. Yeah, like, Harry just like asking me questions throughout. Joe talking about her friend and what she's up to as I'm coming up to a really complicated junction. People calling me a wanker as I have to change lanes at last minute.
I'd love it, yeah. If there's a game where, like, GTA, every time someone cuts you up, your character just goes, fuck it, all right, mate.
Oh, look at this twat. Look at this twat. Joe, look at this twat. Look, fucking hell. Jesus. Awful. You can't let it go, can you? You've already passed them. They've turned off, but you're still going, fucking what an idiot. Like, just... Sorry, go on.
Six Feet also mentions which of these Destiny recipes will be featured on Bell's Kitchen, because there is now an official Destiny cookbook coming out in 2020.
It's not out until August 2020. Which
August
is a shame.
2020, yeah.
But yeah, interesting. I suppose. I mean, assuming Bell's Kitchen is still going at that point, I'll probably have to get it, don't I?
Definitely.
But I don't really understand. Like, to me, Destiny doesn't really have like a culinary.
No, it's not like Monster Hunter, is it?
Yeah.
Where the food looks gorgeous.
Yeah, and it's a whole thing in Monster Hunter. Like you barbecuing the meat and stuff, and it's like an actual item that you use. Whereas Destiny, like, nah, don't really give a shit. But yeah, that'll be interesting, I guess. 27 quids. Bargain.
27 quid.
By the game for
word.
less than
And
that.
that's it for questions. Thank you for your tweets. It's at Computer Game Pod again if you want to tweet us a question.
Wow, what a show. Matt, socials.
Yeah, it's a busy one for streams. So Friday, James is streaming Night Trap's going to get it finished with the help of a guide. That's Friday from 9. Are you streaming on Saturday, Dave?
I don't know. Matt gets so you must hate this. I genuinely can't commit to a date. I'm at that stage in my life. I genuinely can't commit to a date. So I'll chuck a tweet up hopefully on the day.
David will stream at some point. I'm back Sunday for Sekiro Sunday. Sekiro Sundays. That's Sunday from 8:30, and Tuesday it's Sean back on Twitch with a change to his previous series. It's Slayed by the Bell. Tuesday at 9 p.m. You should be excited. We've already seen some graphics. We've seen some stuff. I'm pumped. That's Sean Bell, mince pies, Christmas games, Slayed by the Bell.
Are you going to do the game I suggested?
Yes, mate. Got it downloaded. Can't wait.
I can't wait to see what that's like.
So I told a friend of the show, Cammy Toman, about it, and because he's a bit of a speedrunner, he went and looked it up, and all he will tell me is that I will have a lot of fun playing it on streams.
Yeah.
Sean, if you want to advance on speedrunning, you could talk to me. I'm 14th in the world now, kid.
Oh, that's a point. Yeah.
That's it's a bit offensive.
You're a pro.
So Friday, potentially Saturday, Sunday and Tuesday, you've got streams all week with us lot. If you've got Amazon Prime, you also have Twitch Prime, and we really appreciate if you went over to our account and gave us a free sub, because they've been going down recently. We know you're out there. So if you've got Amazon Prime, please think about connecting your accounts and give us that free sub. We really appreciate it. Obviously on Patreon, patreon.com/TCGS, you get exclusive monthly podcasts, us talking over old conferences. We've done Konami recently, that's been out in November. That was an amazing conference to watch, because I basically have very little memory of that, but it was absolutely insane.
Yeah.
We did Ubisoft the month before. We've got a lot of things we talked over as well, worth having a look at them. And the website for everything else, that's thecomputergameshow.com.
Do you James has just texted me the word horn. I thought we'd take that joke as far as we can, but do you know what would make a great gift? If you know a Star Wars fan, buy them a Star Calls t-shirt from our website, and then when they open it and go, "Oh, that's great, but it says Star Calls instead of Star Wars," they'll go, "Yeah, listen to this podcast." And then when you see them on New Year's, they'll go, "Thank you so much," and they'll be in that Star Calls t-shirt.
Yeah, they'll be like, "That was the real present, wasn't it?" And then you'll be like, "Yeah."
yeah, it was. But the t-shirts are bonus.
Yeah, it would make a great Secret Santa gift, would it not?
It certainly would.
Because especially with Secret Santa, one, you don't know who's got it for you.
Even that on James's face.
Yeah, even better. Cause,
get the one with James on it.
But yeah, I mean, James' face, sure, but of Secret Santa, you don't know who's got it for you. And also, you're like, what? This is like Star Wars, but what is this? And then they'll have to do their own research. Yeah. Brilliant.
If you're giving it as you don't have to do this obviously, but if you're giving it as a gift to someone, from our store, please film them opening it just to see what the reaction's going to be. Especially if you're buying it for someone that doesn't know the show. If you're buying a picture of James's t-shirt,
it's a shame everyone in my office knows about my podcast, because I would love to do that, but I can't do it now.
Shame. All right. Okay. We'll catch you next week. Thanks for living it. Have a great week. We love you. Goodbye.
Ta-ra.
Goodbye.
Ta-ra again. I'm Sean Bell.
Alan McInally.
McInally.